Adults.
Are we live? I think we're live. Yes, we're live.
Are we live? Hi, live.
Yes. Hello.
Tell
hello,
the tale
hello.
of not live. I want to hear the tale.
Microphones. When I first got this PC, my microphone switched between apps seamlessly, but it now seems to want to be rebooted and the USB unplugged whenever I use it for something else other than Firefox and StreamYard. And then I have to do it all again. Yeah, it's been a pain. Bit of pain. No, I am not going to present this episode in interpretive dance. No. No. I can't dance to save my life. Right. Hello, panel. Hello, Iman. Hello, Bear. Hello, Saxius. Hello, Joker. This is the order that you have all arrived. Iman has frozen. I mean, his computer's got fed up.
There's a shock. Hang on. Let me think about that for a minute. I've never seen that happen before.
And hello to everybody in chat. I'm going to go from the beginning. Well, there's you, Joker. And there's Iman. There's Halakar. Hello, Halakar. Hello, Andy. Hello, Hyrax. CBK Ply. And Halakar's renewed his membership. Super duper. Thank you.
And not to forget the Storians and gifted memberships.
I'm coming down to that. Hold your horses. And here we have Nosorian giving 10 Old Geek memberships.
Quite nice of him.
That's absolutely marvelous. Thank you, Nosorian. Thank you. Good man. And there's Bob. Hello, Bob. And there's Straw Piglet. Hello, Straw Piglet. There's all the people who said hello. 13 people in chat, apparently. It's rather nice. And there's Nerd's Nerd. You're still waiting for the interpretive dance. I didn't know what interpretive dance is. Maybe
whatever you want it to be. Maybe
Bear should demonstrate.
I'm sorry, what? I couldn't hear you over the sound of the inflection I have in my ear.
How about Saxius? Saxius, are you a dancer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Well.
Yes. And that's the end of the conversation.
But you asked me, am I a dancer? The answer is yes, I dance.
Have you watched Parks and Rec yet, Saxius?
No.
Because Ron Swanson is in some levels your spirit animal. I'm serious when I say that.
I've seen enough memes and clips. I think I know what you mean.
Hello, Mike. Hello, Mondo. Don't you do posh dancing, Saxius?
I do hip hop.
Your man can dance. What?
Can I?
No. Never mind you. This guy does hip hop dance.
Yeah.
No.
Like breakdancing?
Yeah, well, not to. I've lost my flexibility to do the whole the helicopter and all those fancy things. But yeah, that was my stick.
You like pop and lock and do the worm and throw a piece of cardboard on the pavement and start spinning around your head.
Yeah.
My jaw is on the floor.
Half of me is like, wow. And the other half of me is like, could you be a more stereotypical 90s white guy? Like, I'm impressed and shocked.
Hello, RPG Dad. How about some appreciation from Miss Denmark? What about Miss Denmark?
Why is Miss Denmark particularly attractive this time around?
I don't fucking know.
Shall we have a look?
Should we get on with the show?
You talk about while I ogle Miss Denmark. Just bear with me.
Saxius does indeed have secrets.
Well, here's the thing, though. I'm open to share them all. You just have to ask the right questions.
Fair.
I don't think anyone's really sort of asked me before. Do you dance? It's well, I do. I don't see a point in going around sprouting it.
Well, yeah, no one ever asked you the question before, so you never bothered saying anything. Yeah.
I feel like I had a fever dream where I heard this before. This doesn't feel like new information on some level. On some fundamental universal level, it feels like I knew this somehow.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think I might have mentioned it in one of your streams, but I don't quote me on that.
I gotta stop, living. But that's not
You gotta stop living. My God, Bear, please.
I meant this one.
Don't do that.
Spreadsheet, if you want to spread them all behind, and if you don't spread, oh no, that's going in places where you don't want to go.
Yeah, you want to replace safety dance with Excel instead of safety, because then it's going to work a lot better. Because you're taking a short 2-syllable and you're replacing it with a long 2-syllable spreadsheet. Those are two really hard ones, whereas safety is fast. So you want something short like Excel.
Unless you're from where Joker's from, where it's safety.
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 Safety dance. It's the safety dance.
He only lives 7 or 8 miles up the road from me. Because if your friends don't tax, and if they don't tax, well, they're no friends of mine. There we go.
They're not contributing to the national effort to pay off the debt caused by the government. See, that's the problem. Any song Saxius is going to be the lead on is eventually going to degenerate into an explanation. Do you understand? And that's where the comedy lies.
Hello, Georgiana's saying hello on your stream there, Bear.
Yeah, she's a friend of mine. She's saying hello. Hello, Gio. How you doing?
Right, let's talk about the games we've played in the last 7 days. 14 days. So I didn't stream last week because I had poorly belly. Bear, go.
God, we had a heroic game last Friday. It was non, whatever. It didn't really matter. Nothing important happened or anything like that. It was just your usual thing, nothing to talk about really. I mean, what?
Me and Saxius are just like, yeah, sure.
And then on Saturday, we had the Codex Albana game, and nothing really happened there either. It was pretty much just a boring old, let's roll some dice and see what happens. Yeah. And there you go. There you go. That's pretty much what I've been doing. And I'm actually, as I'm talking to you, working on a module for my patrons for Heroic. Oh, Sax, don't get excited.
And as you were speaking, there, your nose was growing because that was a really good session of Codex Albana.
All right. So in the Heroic game, they finally figured out that there may actually be a Cape Killer in Capital City, and they thought it was aliens, but the aliens may not be connected to the Cape Killer. It may be. We'll see where their investigations take them. But previously, they lost Squire, who was the sidekick of Nighthawk, and she's gone missing as well, so they don't know what to do about that. And then they had a falling out with Beetle because they were kind of being dicks to him and taking him for granted, despite their inability to see that. And they started off the session back with the news reports on the radio about Beetle's body having been fished out of the Park City Lake in City Park, or City Park Lake in City Park. And then they went on an investigation about that, and by the very end, they are leaning towards the potential, based on what they've gathered and what clues they got, that it might actually be their own teammate Sentinel, who was missing, that may be responsible. Huh. Weird that. And then on Codex Albana, I'm going to let you and Iman talk about that one, because you guys had, I want to see what you guys come up with. So that's it. That's what my gaming's been. And after my freak out yesterday, I'm going to be running a Star Trek campaign starting soon.
Nice.
Because I've had enough of garbage Trek. So I'm going to make good Trek. And we're all going to love it and be happy and live long and prosper. It'll be so much fun. Sorry. Live long and prosper. There we go. Off to you, Saxius.
Sure. All right. I've had one heroic that I'm going to leave for Imam to talk about. Aside from that, I've had my Call of Cthulhu game, which is going along swimmingly. One of my players is fighting very hard to never look anywhere, and the group has now learned that every time I say roll to spot hidden, it is you want to fail these rolls because you do not want to see what's in the snow. You do not want to see the eyes that are looking back at you in the blizzard in Norway. So it's delicious. I've never seen players go like, I don't want to pass anything, please. I just want to die. So, yeah, it's great. I'm having a lot of fun. My Sunday group is we're spearheading. We're trying to get to the end. I don't know what's happening. I've got players who have got no control over their lives at the moment. So I'm taking whoever is showing up and I am pushing through. So come hell or high water, we are coming to the end of that campaign. And I need to pester my real life group because I need to know what heroes they want to play as in our heroic mini campaign. But aside from that, life's gravy.
Hello, Daniel. Now, which one out of Joker and Iman wants to talk about our Call of Cthulhu game last night?
For
Oh, let him
Canadians,
do it, 'cause
both
it's
of them are
normally me.
barely understandable, so, no matter which. That's all I'm going to hear. So.
He's never here. Let him do it.
No,
before the Call of Cthulhu, we did have a go. I was in the last Friday's game of how atrocious English was.
Oh, Forest Oracle.
Yes. Yes. But both of you were in that one as well. It's becoming quite an incestuous relationship, isn't it? All in the same games. Right.
I can talk about Call of Cthulhu if you want. And we didn't do a midweek geek last week, so I think we missed a heroic session as well.
We did, yes.
But I mean that heroic session was. I said it was going to be the storm because the one before was the calm before the storm. But we all had things that we wanted to do, so that was a very role play heavy session. So we all did like extra prep before shit goes down, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And Oscar, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we start on Friday, we're just going to go straight into the thick of it.
Oh, I'm gonna chuck you in there and ideally drown you.
And then Call of Cthulhu yesterday was Saxius. You'll be glad to know my character got to 0 HP and nearly died. He didn't actually die though, so But so we were on the train, and then there was this the lights all went out and we couldn't figure out what was going on, and then there was this shadow creature thing, which slashed at me, slashed at Manfred's character Wilbur, and we sort of retreated into our room. It followed us into the room, kept doing damage to us. Manfred's character tried to shoot it, at which point Henri, who's an NPC but is currently being played by Mike, was like, "Hey, what are you doing to my train?" That was a horrible French accent, but there you go. So then he comes to investigate. He then tries to tackle the shadow creature, passes straight through him like he weren't there. Bullets pass through him like he weren't there. But we find out eventually that the creature is afraid of light. So then we're holding up lighters to it to try and get it to shrink away into the corner. And this NPC, coming onto the topic a little bit, Amelia, came to the fore because her dice rolls were just phenomenal and they were all on her side. She was attempting to hit the creature and succeeding, but it didn't do anything. She kept dodging the creature. The second I went in front of her to try and shield her from the creature, I took a major wound and started dying.
You took a wound in the game and started dying?
Yeah.
It never happens.
I know, right? So then, I got dragged out of the room, and then Henri was freaking out because there's blood all over his train. But yeah, I got first aided. And then what did we find out afterwards? There was the room. Oh God, yes.
Oh yes, what a bit of role playing this was. This was fantastic. This was really, really good.
So obviously, with all this hubbub going on, all the passengers left their rooms and fled to the saloon car, with obviously Henri sort of herding the cats. But there was 2 rooms that weren't open, and so Henri obviously investigated, found out that there was a woman who was sobbing, and she was very, very, very insistent on don't enter the room. Whatever you do, don't enter the room. And he's like, I care about privacy, but I care more about human life. I need to make sure you're all right. Goes into the room and sees this man who's basically dying on the bed with a fez attached to his head, which is similar to what we saw in the first session of the Blood Red Fez, where someone was dying in bed with a fez that was attached to their head, like as in the skin had grafted to it. And obviously, we all know what happens when that goes, a stage further. So we're basically trying to get everyone out the room and lock the room and say, like, keep that thing in there. And that's pretty much where we left off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I rambled on a bit there, but there you go. It was very roleplay heavy, so.
Fez attached to head, I was in.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't understand much else.
And the fez was humming. It was emanating this like humming sound, and it had these moving hieroglyphic patterns on it as well.
Naturally, as like fezzes do.
Yeah,
and it's got this off, slightly darkened blood color to it. Not bright red as a fez should be, and there's this odor emanating from it, and it's attached itself, and the skin is all sort of grafted around. It is also grown around the bottom of the fez. It's delicious. It's delicious.
Yes. I think that's about it, right? I don't think I missed anything there. But yeah, my character is now stable, but on very few HP. So let's see how long he survives.
You've got yourself a bit of a long-term bout of insanity as well, haven't you? You've gone
indeed
very, very Bible bashy for when you wake up. Your character's going to have to be quoting biblical passages all the time. So enjoy. We had a fun moment when Manfred's character had a short-term delusion where he believed Iman's character was his sister and started trying to usher him out to safety.
I think my family have a microwave fetish.
They do. So, and with our games, we played, of course, Codex Albana. What I remember most about Codex Albana
was the screaming.
That opening bit where Sir De Vere's shiny new sword utterly rejected him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course you'd remember that.
Because it ain't Sir De Vere's sword.
Yeah, I know.
He wants it to be.
Could you imagine how screwed the island would be if De Vere was the High King?
Oh, completely. But no, we had a really, really strong roleplay session. Very, very, barely any rolls at all made.
Only 2, and they were both for me and both sanity.
Yeah, there's sort of stress rolls.
Or stress, as it were.
Yes, and there were some really, really good moments in it. Cody's playing the insane wise man. He's gone down a very dark path with no eyes, but he sees through a central thing.
Third sight or something like that.
Third sight, yeah, he's poked both his eyes out. Max is slowly, his character's coming around to the idea that he has to be the High King. He has no choice. Doesn't want to be. It's clear he doesn't want to be. But it's dawning on him he's got that responsibility. And Iman's character's got himself a girlfriend.
Sort of.
Right?
I don't know. We'll see.
You will see.
Apparently, she likes the chase, so Navri's going to have to put some effort in. But
there's some delicious political rumblings ahead, aren't there?
Oh well, yeah, and that's the thing. So he might be getting married to this person for the sake of uniting 2 different lands. So, well, let's see. His father's not going to be happy about that.
I don't think it's up to your father. I think it's up to the king of Ishmir, isn't it?
Also, yes, but no. Obviously, my father's going to tell me how disapproving he is.
You think your father's going to talk shit to his liege about
no,
getting
to me.
You have no idea how this works.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was just Asian parenting.
Think about this. Your family gets the privilege of marrying into the royal family of a neighboring kingdom, possibly bringing peace to those 2 things. What happens to your family's status within Ishmir at that point in time?
It depends how they view the other land. Like, it could be more favorable, or it could be less.
Well, okay, listen to all the words I say as opposed to the story you're making in your head. If your character marries into the royal family of the neighboring kingdom, thereby bringing peace and unity between the 2 kingdoms, that's the key part,
Yeah.
How do you think your family's going to fare in the political climate in their kingdom?
I think they'd do pretty well.
So you think your father's going to be like, listen, asshole, you know what I mean?
He probably would. I don't know.
He's still
Whether it matters or
Well-
not, he'd definitely have something to say, I reckon.
He's at the battlefield. What's he going to say?
Um,
He's still at the fair. The fair's just ending now. They haven't gotten all the way back to Ishmir yet. They don't fly. It's not like they jumped on their Ryanair flight and bounced on over.
Looks like Father's going to have a nice surprise then.
There you go. Oh, is Nabry going to become his own man finally? Sorry, I cut you off, Sax. I apologize.
That's all right.
Andy wants us to discover his to discuss his character's nightshirt. Yeah, I mean they were all in their bedclothes when they were fighting this shadow creature, and Andy made a point of describing his character's very, very fine silky nightshirt that might be disturbing to anyone who sees him in it. But yes, so we're here
just
to talk
seeing
about
his knobbly knees.
we're here to talk about NPCs tonight. And something I'll admit, when I used to play when I was a lot younger, I was absolutely atrocious at running NPCs. I didn't really have a clue how to work interactions. They were very, very wooden, and thus they faded into the background. And something I've made a point of doing a lot more is trying to give NPCs personality, because it dawned on me when I came back to the hobby and started playing the games again, but this time with more mature, more experienced players, that the NPCs are often the true highlight of the session. They are what makes the world tick. If the DM can get them right and make them react in an interesting and authentic manner, then the game becomes much more compelling. So, DMs in here, do you have any sort of techniques when you... I mean, how much planning do you do in terms of introducing NPCs? Do you plan a lot, or do you let improvisation take over?
50, mezzo, 50-50. I know who I want to have as an NPC, but how they're going to behave and how they're going to react is going to be based on how the players react to them and how they treat them, right?
Yes.
One of the big problems I find with some of the older style play is this idea that NPCs should just have exclamation points over their head and should just be there to dole out quest information to players and otherwise shut up, right? Like, it's just a stupid NPC, who cares? And I think that's definitely robbing yourself of one of the best parts of a game, which is interacting with the world around you and seeing the impact, negative, positive, or neutral, that your character is having on that world. And therefore, I think it behooves a GM to really make an effort to make the NPCs come to life. Apparently, I'm good at that. So I'm going to say, obviously it's a very important thing for me. Facts.
Nice. So, to summarize the question, how much effort do I put into my NPCs? Is that the...
Yeah, basically, yes. Do you plan out all your NPCs, or do you improvise and make up a lot on the fly?
So it's more of a 75% preparation, 25% improv. I go down the route of, if a group's going to be going into a city, I'm going to know who's at the top, how are they running, who's running the day-to-day stuff, and then I might have a couple of names for a couple of characters here and there. And then when the players go say like, oh, I'm going to go in and I'm going to talk to I don't know, the person that sells groceries, because I want to know things from there. Then I'll make something up on the fly. But otherwise, I look at what I believe to be the key infrastructure of a city or of a location, and then I'll make up, who they are, what their interactions are, the little sort of like interwebs of the city. Because I might have, the blacksmith does not get along with the tavern down the road because they he got into a fight with the owner and lost, so he's still bitter about it. So I do that kind of background preparation. I don't want to make that just up on the spot. It's something I sort of ruminate with the rough idea that like at least 10 years, well, maybe not 10 years, that's a lot of time, but like there's supposed to be history for the characters there. But ultimately, all of this can go down the drain if, as Bear said, players come in, if they're being complete asses, then I will have to have the NPCs react accordingly. And then that might just be them going, well, guess you're not coming into this establishment anymore, and shut the door. And then that's for them to deal with.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I personally, I put myself very much in sort of Bear's camp here with about 50-50 preparation and bluff. When it depends on the game I'm running. Very much depends on the game I'm running. My Call of Cthulhu campaign has a lot of ready-made NPCs in there for me to use and abuse, the players to use and abuse, the characters to use and abuse during the game. And I try to bring them in, and I try to give them life. But there have been a number that I've made up on the spur of the moment. And typically those are often the ones that the players latch onto and want more information than I've got to mind beforehand. So you've got to have that flexibility. You've got to have that seat of the pants approach, because you don't, as Saxia says, you don't know how the players are going to interact with the NPCs, and often it can come down to dice rolls. Certainly, if you're playing an old school game with reaction rolls, things can go sour very quickly, and purely due to the dice rather than events. But for me, I think probably my strongest point when it comes to running a game like Call of Cthulhu is the improvisation of conversations with NPCs. I love it. I absolutely love it. I love it when I get to role play with the players as an NPC and try to give the NPC some life, some impetus, some relevance. And it does take practice. It takes practice. Andy, Straw Piglet has said the important thing is to make the NPCs more powerful than the players. That's because players think, haha, NPCs have stuff, XP, haha, kill. Yeah, I've seen that happen, but then there's repercussions. And Andy says what pisses me off is when PCs have conversations in front of the NPC as though they're not there. Consequences. Of course. Everything the players do should have a relevant consequence, however minor. So, any tips when creating NPCs, when creating your own NPCs? Where do you start? Do you just think, well, this is a town, it's going to have X number of shops and people, and we'll just go from there? Or do you have something, or do you always have something in mind in terms of a story beat? Or do you just let that develop organically? How do you start to put together an NPC that's going to work for your world?
And yeah, I'm going to say the most memorable NPCs I've ever had were spur of the moment NPCs. They were the ones that just, I needed an NPC in that moment, and I threw a personality on them, and then the players just tweaked to it, like the rando goblin in the bar as opposed to the rider in the corner. You know what I mean?
It's the whole meme of the players just like pushing all the major people out of the way and going, that one, that gremlin over there, this is the important one.
He is the one we must save.
Yeah.
Okay. I used to run Marvel in the Zenith universe. Lady America was on the team as an NPC. She's an absolute ass-handing, badass female warrior, the American Amazon. She can kick ass, all that kind of stuff. Every bloody time a villain hit her in a fight, one of the players would try and interpose to take the damage instead. And I had to have the NPC react panicked because it was getting to the point where she was like, "Why are you all protecting me? I'm better than you at this. Like, what are you doing?" And it's just because they didn't want to see her take damage. They were afraid I would kill her. Right? So players
we had something similar last night.
Huh? Sorry?
We had something similar last night.
Well, there you go. So players will have developed weird feelings about NPCs, either protective or hatreds, and you just can't predict it. So you can't go about setting it up properly unless it's a villain, and then that's a different story completely. But if it's just for the people they're going to deal with on a regular basis, I think you're best set to give the NPC a purpose, a personality, and then see where the players take you with it. And make sure that they react appropriately. If their personality is a no-nonsense, gruff dwarf who doesn't take shit from anyone, and they start giving him shit, don't have the dwarf take their shit. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like players need to learn that they may be the protagonists of the story, but their actions have consequences, and their behavior has consequences. Zach, go ahead. I can feel you. I can feel you twitching.
I am, because I didn't have my notes right there when John was asking. So I start out by giving them a name. I then give them a profession. I put down the years of experience that they have, because to me that then goes down to then tell me, how when they talk, how confident are they, or are they bullshitting? I need to know, what I'm dealing with. I give them 2 to 3 major events in their life that formulates them, that makes them that person. Give them personality traits anywhere between 2 to 4. That will sort of formulate them out, and then establish any existing relationships, whether it's family, kin, connections, whatever, to that existing community that they're in. And then I do that for the major ones that you will find in a town. So that's all what I go in for.
That's way beyond what I'm.
Yeah. So. But I also have some players who turn around and they will sit down and go like, right, what's going on here? Why let me take the blacksmith that doesn't get along with that innkeeper. What happened there? It's like, well, this fight took place. He got his ass absolutely handed to him, and so he never goes in there. As a matter of fact, anyone that he sees doing patrons there will have a 10% increase in all their costs, because he sits and he can see people that goes in there. So if he sees anyone that goes in there and then come in there, he will charge them more, because he does not like people that gives patronage to that place. But if you go to another place where he's being treated like a king, he will give you 10% off. Things like that. Players who start asking these questions, poking and prodding and trying to find out what is happening in this world. I've said this before. I come in with 100% prepared, and I expect you to primarily just see 10% of it. But I want to have 100% prepared, because I don't like to sit and just do improvisation. I want there to be consistency. I want there to be a cohesive setup for what I do and what I present. So that's why I put in that kind of effort, because then all I have to do is just glance and go, all right, this is what's going on here. And then right there, I've got an explanation, I've got a history, I've got all of that prepped. And it's not hard work, in my opinion, either, but, each their own.
With the Forest Oracle game, I'm taking the piss. I've prepared no NPCs for that. I'm running the module as is. It's just to laugh at the module. But with Orient Express, there's so many NPCs and so much detail that I defy anybody to prepare it all and remember it all from the get-go. I'm preparing it as I go along, and bringing in NPCs, some suggested NPCs, and a few additional ones, but there have been quite a few that have been made up on the spur of the moment, and they've often been quite entertaining. I love it. I love it when, we said about that meme, when the players push all the important people to one side and focus on the insignificant one. I love them. I love that. I think it's great when players do that, because that insignificant one, it means they've picked up on something that I've just thrown in as a throwaway, and they want some of it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm completely indifferent towards it. It's okay, you've picked this person that is now important. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, if you're dragging him along, you live a dangerous lifestyle. I will treat them the same way that I've been treating you, and I will go out of my way to then kill them, and then you can deal with that on your own.
I mean, what you were saying about the powerful female hero there.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason this particular NPC is in that Cthulhu game is that is to abide by the rules of the Orient Express, that lone female characters, if they share a bunk, share a cabin, it's going to be with another lone female traveler. They won't make men and women share who don't know each other. It's simple, a simple rule. So we got 5 PCs, 2 per cabin, meaning Anne's character Ada was the odd one out. So I used one of the pre-gens that were suggested that are there in the adventure, and added her as her cabin mate. And I didn't know whether she'd have any impact. I wasn't intending for it to have any real impact on the story, but she has been brought into it by the actions of the players and pretty much goaded into action in last night's session. Yeah, I think goaded is Ada was trying to make sure that Amelia didn't get involved, and the more Ada pushed, the more Amelia was going to push back, because it's in her personality. She doesn't stand down. And then when I got her involved, I rolled loads of critical successes for anything she tried to do. So now she has pretty much become that superhero style.
Yeah, and you know who didn't?
You.
Yes, me.
Yeah. Yes. So you had an NPC who was thrown in just to fill up the compartment initially, running guns blazing towards a shadow creature with 2 guns out, 2 pearl handled revolvers, just running at the and trying to gun the thing down because she's been told that not to. And it's in the personality that she doesn't react well to people telling her what to do.
Iman.
Yes, hello.
So, as a player,
Yes.
when you are introduced to an NPC, what are you looking for? What are your expectations as a player when a DM sits down and goes, right, this is an NPC you're now going towards, or that you've now approached? What do you expect the DM to do, and what do you then try to get out of them?
So usually I'm trying to get information out of them, right? That's usually, well, Call of Cthulhu, that's how it is. What am I looking for in an NPC is, I guess, a personality but not just any personality. It has to like somehow be different to what the party already has. So like Amelia in this instance, like we didn't have a character like that. So it was good that she sort of took up that mantle, but it wasn't planned. It just happened organically, right?
Yes, very much.
And I think that's the other thing that I look for is organic, like development, not forced development of an NPC, and like their relationships with the characters.
Sure. So let me take one that was a bit of a improv, at least on my side, when you were introduced to Vector. How did you find that interaction go? And please don't spare the details.
That was interesting because, I was sort of, you told us a little bit about him, and I was like, all right, okay. So I kind of looked up to him already. But then when we met, he's like, oh, you're quantum logic. Oh. And then he was sort of looking up to me, and I was surprised by that. Like, oh, I guess that makes sense, though, because I am still a hero. But it was nice because the way that you played it off was like he actually acknowledged that I had something to offer, whereas the rest of the team got used to my shtick by now, didn't they?
Mhm.
So that was nice. Someone actually taking me not for granted.
Yeah. So that was one thing that stood out for you when you were introduced to an NPC.
Well, you brought him to life. Obviously, you could say, oh, well, this is the character and this is what he's like. But every DM or GM will bring that character to life differently.
Sure.
Is it cold, John?
Yes. Very.
Button.
Hello, King Eric.
Blouse.
Yeah. So, Halakar, I'm going to star one of these comments here because that's what I want to come to a little bit later. So, you said you prepare heavily, and this was very much an improvised NPC. This victim.
Yeah. So effectively, what I had done was the players needed help. I made them do some rolls, and we then rolled up random heroes that would be in the city. And I was like, right, give me 5 minutes. Thank you. I mean, I got to give credit to this man over here.
I don't know what I did, but I'll take it.
Yeah, and if you go and subscribe to his Patreon, you will see that every single one of his characters come with a beautiful set, which is that he actually gives them personality pointers. So that as a DM, I can quickly go down and go, right, bam, bam, this is what kind of character I'm dealing with. I can look at their profession. I can immediately go, right. A lot of the things that I normally do, right there, I can immediately formulate what I am expecting, and I can at least take that and tweak it to my understanding, which then allowed me to present this NPC in the way that I interpret it. But it also meant that when Iman was interacting with him, it was something that was, while it was on the fly, it was something where I had all the prep work right there for me to quickly skim over.
So, how much information is there regarding personality in there? Is it just a few words? Just as
on my Patreon?
Yeah.
Oh, dear God. Oh, hang on. I'll just go pick the last character I posted today, a hero character called Thunderbolt. So he's a Golden Ager, so you're dealing with a 1945-ish type region. And at the bottom of his thing, you're going to have to get all his stats. You're going to get personality traits. And he has, as his written ones, are brave, optimistic, secretive, and compassionate. Kenneth Thompson, known as Thunderbolt, was determined to serve his country despite being rejected for service due to his limp and curved spine. Inspiring leader. Ken's positive outlook and ability to rally his teammates made him a beloved figure amongst the Freedom Brigade. However, his constant fear of being exposed weighed heavily on him. And then crush on Captain Freedom. Secretly admired Captain Freedom, though he kept it hidden due to the social prejudices of the time. So there's 3 little personality hits, boom, 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 that you can use to bring the character alive.
And there's not too much of it. It's not reams and reams and reams.
You're not looking at paragraphs. You're looking at bullet points.
Yeah.
And the character I'm looking at that I picked out on, or that we rolled up here, he has straight up 3 lines. 3 lines that gives me all that I need.
Yeah.
Highly analytical and a tactical thinker. He thrives on problem solving and he enjoys coming up with plans and being a problem solver. He's calm under pressure, and he does struggle to make decisions if things aren't going accordingly because he is a mathematician. He's highly analytical. He's very calculating. Right there, I have all I need to know.
Yeah,
that's all.
That's all. Yeah, and it also automatically gives them a personality that you can work from. This is one reason why I do like the original alignments back in AD&D. You had that. It was just that little descriptor in a couple of letters that would give you that could feed you a starting point as to the character's outlook, and you could build from there.
Alignment's pretty vague, though.
It's very vague. Yeah.
I would say it's a separate thing, but we've had several streams about that.
But I would use it to help guide the person. Just a few pointers towards the personality. Just a few little pointers. It wouldn't be the be all and end all, but it would just give a little guide towards traits they might have.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean, keep it short and sweet. Verbose text is really lost when you're pulling an NPC on the spur of the moment.
how big is the NPC?
Yeah, true.
So if we're talking about someone like Strad von Sadovich, I'd expect to have a little bit more than 3 liners for his personality, because he's a very complex character. Beyond the whole he's evil, he's Dracula, blah blah blah.
As we always said, though, you can't always predict who's going to be a big NPC and who isn't.
Okay, he is the villain.
Yes,
he is the villain right there, John.
With Strahd, you can.
My point is, how big is this NPC? If he is a villain, if he's a core part of the story, unless the players turn around and go, you know what, we're just going to leave this place. At which point, I'll put my screen down and go, right, we've agreed on running a certain game. Why are you here if you're going to be leaving? Please tell me, because I don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious with Strahd. Yes, Strahd, as he is the center of that entire adventure. But as you said, there's a lot of NPCs that you could easily throw too much effort at that will just get hand slapped away by the players because they're not interested, because all they want to talk to is the goblin serving boy in the corner.
I can also point out that. Go on.
May I jump in?
Sure.
Ignore the other NPCs at your own peril. Those NPCs should have shit to do and agendas of their own that they're going to do, regardless whether the players talk to them or they talk to the goblin piss boy. You understand? And then later, when they turn around and suddenly they've got 20 guards and 5 orcs and an ogre ready to fight them in the alleyway, they're like, whoa, where'd all this come from? Well, you were fucking around with Gobo. This shit was getting organized outside. And now you're facing it unprepared. Good luck. Like it's people will accuse you of quantum ogring them. You're not. You're running a living world. And if you run a living world and you do it well, your players will want to have their characters live in that world. They will want to be a part of that world. You know what I'm saying? They'll want to really be there, as opposed to just, I punch him in the face, let's go rob a raided dungeon. They'll get very bored of that shit real quick. When they get back to town, they find out that the drow has taken over the entire town that they normally use as their base, and has now got everybody held hostage and waiting for them. Because they didn't talk to the shadowy stranger in the back, who was the escaped cleric of Elistrea, who was coming to them for help because she knew that the minions of Loth were coming to invade the town under a spell of permanent darkness, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe I'm completely fucking wrong.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
It works with my style at the very least. But my point is, you're going to be having certain NPCs where you shouldn't just have a couple of bullet points. I like bringing this up because I like to wave it around. Red Hand of Doom, one of my absolute favorites. They go out. Oh god, it's fantastic. They go through. You have to confront several captains and leaders of the oncoming Red Hand of Doom, or the Red Hand Horde, as it's also referred to. And each of these captains, they have motivations. They are at these locations because they are trying to further their own career. They are all hobgoblins. They are lawful evil, if you want to go into their alignment term. They want to go up, and they want to go up by doing a very good job, because in hobgoblin society, you progress through merit and by backstabbery. Ergo, you are going to be dealing with enemies where you can actually negotiate with them. And if you understand their personality and their motives, you have a chance of circumventing some very nasty fights with some very dirty fighters. So, put the effort in for the characters that matter for the story. But again, not all players is going to be coming out and go, oh, we need to analyze them. We need to figure things out. We need to do this. Most players might just go, all right, bad guy, we've got to fight them. And then, it's not a loss. It just means you're more prepared. If they do turn around and say, right, I want to discuss, rather than having to then pull something out of your rear.
Right, we're going to speaking of discussing, I've got a few starred comments I want to bring up. I'm going to come back to Halakars. I just want to reply to Pedar here, who says in his Bet Me game, the players ignored a hook from NPC. As a result, they've made an enemy that will pop up from time to time for vengeance. That sounds good to me. I mean, okay, it's you say afterwards, totally unplanned because they didn't engage in the way they thought they would. Well, it sounds like the game has actually turned out more interesting because of their unplanned lack of engagement with him. Because that makes the game, having a slighted NPC conspire against them, fantastic. That's exactly what we want to see. So I wanted to come to a point regarding inspiration for NPCs. And Halakar says this. Another great NPC from 40 plus years ago was the waitress at a tavern in Saltmarsh. She was based 100% on the girl who had just dumped one of my players. Hands up if you often base NPCs on people you know and take inspiration from the real world around you. All the bloody time. You don't, Bear. Why not, Bear? Why not?
Because it's petty. And there's one thing I will never be in this life is petty. If I want revenge on you, I'll take it out on you. I'm not going to vicariously keep you in my mind and in my world by using you as an NPC. That, for me, is not a good thing. Now, for people I like, same thing. I don't want to do that. I would rather create characters. Are there aspects of their personalities that could creep in? Absolutely. You can't control that. That's human nature. But I have never been a fan of making NPCs based on real-world people I know. Good or bad.
Why? I mean, I see. I don't mind it. I really don't mind it.
Yeah, you're British. You guys do petty as an art form.
I mean, almost in my OSE game, most of the town NPCs are based on you lot.
Mention in the shed.
Yeah, they found a in the middle of nowhere. They found on this icy beach. They found
an igloo.
They found an igloo, and there were puffs of fragrant smoke drifting out of the igloo, and sat inside the igloo, puffing on this fragrant cigarette, was Iman, the friendly bard, who offered them a smoke.
Yeah, so I played the stereotype of not the horny bard, but the high bard.
The stoner bard, yes, he was the stoner bard.
Well, he didn't give a shit about anything except when he's going to get his next smoke and when these guys will stop trying to kill him.
Well, that was after you were told about the bad impression of your accent first.
Oh yeah,
I did trying to do my northern accent.
Yes, I did a bad impression.
And then Andy summoned me. He was like, "You're an NPC. You might as well voice him." I'm like, "All right then."
And you played him a few times. And of course, Saxius is the town's excise agent who collects the taxes and tries to swindle the players out of as much cash as he possibly can.
Mm-hmm. And I believe you were becoming a bit flustered when I got to play, and you were sitting there like, "No, I'm not gonna have Saxius appear. Not when he's sitting right here."
But no, I do. I use a fair bit of hyperbole with them. I do sort of exaggerate character traits. For example, Omanal, the ranger. He doesn't shut up. He's constantly telling stories. There's the kindly mage who helps the player's magic users in the party, who is called Merle. Yeah, it's blatantly obvious who I've used for where, and I think it's funny. I like it. That's my sense of humor.
I'm with Nerd's Nerd on this entire comment train.
What's that?
She says, NPC to spite someone you don't like is just a high effort. I would have said, then they would have said, and then I would have said, and everyone would clap. Shower argument thing. And I agree. Which I believe I summed all of what she said up with one word, which is petty.
Is that why you put Elle into the dungeon, John?
Absolutely why we put Elle into the dungeon.
Role-playing is not therapy. Jesus Christ.
Do I need to remind you what I said last week, Bear?
What did you say, Leslie? Yeah, you need to remind
It's
me.
sitting right next to it.
Oh, no, that's not therapy. That's trauma.
No,
Well, it's therapy for him.
It's therapy for me.
See, I
Maybe for
told
you.
you.
It's trauma for the rest of you.
Yeah, hey.
I'm just
gonna go somewhere.
I'm just a childish troll, clearly. But no, I've had fun. I had fun with these NPCs because they're not meant to be.
It's your game. Whatever. Like,
Yeah, make
end
a
of
bit
the
of
day.
fun. Yeah. But hey ho. It's not for everyone. It is for my sense of humor, I'm afraid. But taking inspiration from real life people, I think, is important because that's how we experience personalities and how certain personalities react to certain situations. It's life experiences that help us bring NPCs to life in the game. And I think it's impossible to not take inspiration from the world around you when creating NPCs. And that means the people you meet, the people you know, how they respond to things, how they respond under pressure, the way they argue, the way they laugh, all that sort of stuff naturally feeds into your game.
Well, at the end of the day, you basically do it knowingly or subconsciously anyway. Without either way, you can't help but draw on it. I mean, D&D or otherwise. I mean, same as improv. You always subconsciously, because you're thinking on your toes, you end up pulling up on where you know people talk or act.
Yes, of course you do. And when you're trying to do accents.
Don't do.
When I try to do accents, I am trying to mimic people I've heard.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
You're muted, man.
Sorry. You don't have to apologize, mate. I like it. I think it's quite endearing.
Yeah.
Well, that is the Britishness that we do kind of take it as a nice backhanded semi-compliment.
He'll sometimes start a conversation with me. You're right. And I'll sometimes start a conversation with him. You're right.
You're right. Yeah.
I
think there is the British mentality is one of if your mate insults you crudely, it means they're a proper mate. They've gone beyond just being a simple mate. They're now a proper mate.
Mm.
Friendship level.
So, yeah, it's a friendship level up. And I think I don't know whether other cultures around the world take it quite the same way as we Brits do. I mean, I guess the first time I said to him, "All right, Iman, you twat," you probably realised, oh, I've leveled up. I'm his mate now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I didn't get offended. I'm like, oh shit, this guy likes me.
There we go. That's the way we are in Britain. I think. So
anyway, back to NPCs.
I think we're a bit odd. So, yeah. So take it as a compliment if I use you as an NPC in a game. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Yes, Bear. Yes. Yes, Bear. Yes.
I'll sue. And he'll be my lawyer.
Oh, that will be fun.
Are you reading Straw Piglet's comment?
Yeah.
What's that? Which one?
Well, he was discussing about he won't do accents, and I said I'll do the specific ones that I know. I mean, I've got the Norse ones or the Nordic ones more or less drawn down. I will try terrible French accents because I've got no shame, and I like doing Eastern Europeans. at least the more southeastern side of it, because those are the ones I've got to engage with a bit more. So
yeah,
like I'll do the ones I know of, but in terms of like the tones, it'll just be up and down about my own thing. Because I am terrible when it comes to.
He hasn't
All right,
seen
John.
this comment, has he? He's not looking at the screen.
I saw it.
You saw it.
I don't do accents. Accents are for suckers.
You don't
I
know
don't
any
do
at all.
emotion. I don't do emoting. All characters speak the exact same monotone way.
no,
Hail and
yeah,
well
you're
met,
taking the
heroes.
piss.
Welcome.
What with that deep
Curses,
voice that you haven't
foiled my
earned?
plans. What? I'm sorry, what?
With that deep voice that you haven't earned.
With that voice that I haven't earned. That's right.
Yes.
My unearned voice.
I mean, yeah, you throw in lots of accents, lots of character voices. That's one thing that brings out your NPCs.
Are they accents or are they like impersonations, though?
Some of them are impersonations.
Some of them are impersonations. Some of them are just accents.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've not met anyone from Scotland who sounds like this, then yet, have you there? It's because I don't make my Scottish people sound like Billy Connolly. You know what I mean? Like it's you got to pick the accent you're going to do based on the character itself. With Sean Connery, which is what you're referring to specifically for Vortigern, it's because in my mind that's who would play Vortigern in a movie about Vortigern. It'd be 100% Sean Connery.
You had John Cleese in the pub.
Yes, but that was on purpose. Again, Basil Boar's head in his lovely inn that's meant to be a complete reference to Fawlty Towers. Right?
Yes.
I loved that entire setup. I was dying laughing.
I speak English. I learned it from a book.
Hello, Ian.
Yes, Manuel. Where is Door? Exactly.
Here.
Daryl, I'm tempted to have a look into that sort of thing because I've got 2 or 3 fallback accents that I can do sort of, and the rest I'm abysmal at. But I try.
Well, you're on about the headset to do voice transformations.
Yeah.
I have had 1 or 2 players who've tried to use voice modulators and the voice changes for the games. And the moment they hit IT problems, we ditch them. So I find that it's a bit more cumbersome.
Bear, you have something that adjusts your voice, don't you?
I'm sorry, what?
You've got something there that adjusts your voice.
No, I mean on my microphone I have an echo reverb, but that's about it.
Is that it?
That's all. It's just this little button that I can turn on and go, Iman, every choice you have made in life is bad. Reconsider everything and stop hanging out in a shed. This is God speaking. Now I forget which way to turn it. Is it still on? Still on? Still on? Off? Is it
Still
It's
on.
still on. It's on.
Still
Still
on.
on. Yes.
Off now? Off now?
No, it's off.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's not a voice changer, though. That's a voice effect.
Just like this is just an effect. This is nothing to be scared of. I am just here.
You best believe he uses that during heroic.
I do, and some of the players just can't help themselves. They die. They just die.
Okay. So over to players. When you've been a player, favorite NPC you've encountered in a game and why?
Oh God, and why?
Have a think.
Yeah, I'll have a think.
But
Bear and Saxius aren't players so much.
There's a few candidates for this, to be fair.
Indeed. Especially last night.
But I want to know why you like them. Because obviously I'm your DM a lot of the time. So I want feedback.
So I'm
All
going to
right,
go
well-
ahead and say Perra.
Oh, not one of mine then. Okay.
What about Perrin? What do you got
Simply
against Perrin?
because Perran is like the enabler for Sir Devere to be the arse that he is.
Oui, Chevalier. Comme vous voulez, Chevalier. Certainement. I will do it. I will do it for you now, Chevalier. Of course. It's his job, man.
Whatever
squire.
you say
Don't
is
be jealous
gospel
because
to him.
Iman doesn't have a squire.
Yeah, right. Everything Devere says is gospel to Perrin, and he accepts it without question.
But
And
he's a
Role
page.
plays that so
He's
well.
He is a page. He's a squire.
Yeah.
He in the totem pole. He is just above the people that shovels out the shit for the horses. He is now honored to do this. It is beaten into you when you are in this hierarchy that this is a very serious thing, because when you serve with this man for 8 years, you will become him, and you will be given your own squire that will go after you. So yes, he will be kissing ass because he knows, or at least he's been taught, you are going to be this honorable knight when you grow up. This honorable knight has got decades or years of experience. You are there to be taught, to be mentored, and to be shown the world. So,
Plus, they're Elysian Catholics.
no,
God wanted this. God has put him in the presence of a good and powerful knight. Therefore, he must do what he says.
Yep.
Also, Perrin is 10.
Yes, he's a child.
He's 10 bloody years old.
Yeah, that hand axe is almost as big as him.
Exactly. When he wields his little axe, it looks like a great axe. You know what I mean? Come on.
I do get the impression, though, that underneath it all, he does think that De Vere is a bit of an oaf.
Everyone. Not just him. Everyone thinks De Vere is a prat. You know, like, good God.
Right, let's turn this around. John,
What?
you brought out this question. You should start this. You've played it in a couple of games.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why don't you kick this off?
My favorite NPC.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved that poor Clark in the Shadow of the Demon Lord game.
I fucking knew you were. Oh my God.
We tormented into leaving town with a chicken on his head.
Yeah.
I thought he was wonderful.
I think that was probably just a way for me to just vent out how frustrated I was with that world.
I thought he was fantastic. Yeah. How exasperated you made him. I think did you channel your inner you into him then at that time?
If you find that I put a lot of passion into something, I have found a part of me that I will channel into it. So yes, I was channeling part of me into that character.
For that moment, he was living vicariously through that character just to put you in your fucking place.
No, I couldn't put him in his place. I just needed to vent out that this is all insane. You people are crazy. I need to get out of here. I can't handle this. Do I need to wear a chicken to escape? Fine, I'll wear a chicken to escape if it just means you will leave me alone. That campaign will never die.
No, it won't. No, it won't.
I think every time he mentions it, a part of me dies.
Yes. Halakar, you're in the dark.
Hey,
Yeah, I've got a herd of deer out in the yard. I don't want to turn the lights on out the window and scare them away. They're sheltering from the hunters.
Oh,
because I didn't buy a license this year.
Oh, I was going to say, but little do they know that you've got a 12-gauge shotgun?
No, I use a rifle.
Why would you buy deer with a 12-gauge shotgun?
I don't know. It makes me make a mess.
I'm going to spoil the hype.
In Michigan, there's a dividing line. There's a certain part of the state where you can only hunt with a shotgun because they don't want something that has a trajectory of 3 miles.
Yeah, but at the same time, man, you're going to be picking pellets out of that deer. Jesus Christ.
Not if you use a slug.
Okay, extra iron, eh?
That's a little overkill. A slug.
It depends on how far you want to track your deer. If you'd rather go 5 feet as opposed to half a mile. Well,
yeah, well, it depends how much of the deer's exit wound you want all over the tree. You know what I mean? Like, Jesus Christ. Anyway, we're off topic. Sax is about to have a fucking hammer.
I prefer to jam if possible.
See, bring an American to the conversation, and it all turns into guns.
Daniel! Hello, Scott. Where's Daniel? Where's Daniel? Joker, a favorite NPC?
Honestly, the fact that I'm still finding my feet weirdly enough, but I don't necessarily have a favorite one. The thing is with me, my favorite one is always the next one that surprises me, kind of thing.
Okay.
Because I do like the fact that when an NPC comes, I don't know if they're going to stick around or they end up going to disappear or come back 3 weeks later, or they end up joining our group for the rest of the game. But
as Jasmina has done, yeah.
Yes, and I just like the randomness and it's all down to the DM bringing the NPCs and how they bring them to life, or how we interact and make them part of it. Or if we don't feel a connection, we kind of decide to go to the library and research something else, and they disappear. But
true, very true. So no particular favourites stand out. The latest one you've encountered. So.
Yeah.
I'm going to go out and say that. So while I haven't so much played, I love the NPC of Beetle from the heroic game that's been shown. I've included him in my own heroic campaign. So much so that I've had one player after I've been coercing him into getting to watching the heroic stream as well. After the latest stream, he sent me some relatively simple messages that he would make my life hell if I ever did something like that to Beetle in our game. Which that to me just means that that's a character that has stuck out quite well, at least across. Because I enjoyed him in Bear's game, absolutely loved his presentation, and apparently he's had similar effects in my game. So
nice.
At the very least for one player who's had the pleasure of engaging with them.
So
yeah. I know that.
I'm going to say DMs, a favourite NPC that you've run will be the next question. Come on, Sanchez. You go.
No, I was also going to say I know that for Iman, you've also quite enjoyed your engagement with Vector, but then there's also Rune that you want to engage with because you are loving the interactions with him.
Yes. And look, I have to say, I really, despite the fact that Exodus is not my best mate, or not his best mate, I really like him.
Yeah, I quite like running him as well. So yeah,
when Quantum Logic and Exodus first met, Exodus was just not having any of his shit, no matter what. But I think he's slowly warming up to him.
I think he's just accepting that he's not getting rid of you.
Yeah, that.
It's very polar opposite. Exodus is a vigilante who very much believes that we've got to be professional about this. We shouldn't share names. We shouldn't give details about ourselves. We've got these hideouts for a reason because we don't want to be spotted by Asgard. We don't want to be taken in by police. We got to work as though we might see each other, but we should know nothing about each other in case anyone gets captured. And Iman's character has broken every single rule of that very quickly and has overshared so much to the point where he just sits there and goes like, I know too much about you now. This is a problem.
But then it sort of rubbed off on Night Owl as well, because then Night Owl did a similar thing, and Exodus was like, whoa, too much information.
Yeah. Go on, Ben.
Night Owl's just a cheap Nighthawk knockoff. Anyway, I accidentally created a beloved NPC that I wouldn't say is my favorite NPC to play, but for some reason in one of my hero games, when they were fighting these Latin American heroes that were attacking their city as retribution for all the damage that America did during the Central American War in the campaign universe, the leader of that team, Conquistador, was talking to Brian's characters. He was basically kicking the tar paper out of him and explaining to him why this was happening and how, you're so mad at me, but you come to my country, you do the things you do in my country, but if I come to them to you, now I'm the bad guy, and fucking people love this guy. I've had people say, "When can I get a Conquistador T-shirt?" They wanted him around so much. I had him do a cameo appearance in the last Heroic Friday game where they'd never met him before, and even one of the players who'd been in both games was like, got confused. She was just so happy to see him again. She thought she was in the other campaign for a moment, and I don't understand why. There's nothing in this character that makes me go, he's any better than anything else. But for some reason, man, people really reacted to this NPC, and almost universally in a positive way. Like, it's kind of crazy. It was the mustache disguise. Yeah, he's got a mustache.
Oh, it's the same with Omni-Man. Same with Omni-Man. Everyone loves it. He's got that giant mustache, and you've got J.K. Simmons giving the voice. You're just like, say no more.
I don't know, man. It was weird, but it's fun. I'd say my favorite NPC to run, as a general rule, it's either going to be in superhero games, specifically in my superhero campaign. It's either going to be Beetle, because Beetle is a character that I have a lot of fun with, or Garth Sterling, because everyone hates Sterling because they think Sterling is like, they think he's evil and he's an industrialist, and it's like he's so not. He's just Donald Trump and what's his name? The guy who ran TBS, the Southern guy. Ted Turner. He's Ted Turner and Donald Trump smashed together into one guy. So he's like really energetic and really loves to talk about what he wants to do, but he's always looking for the angle, always trying to make the deal, and everybody thinks he's evil.
I love him. I love him. I threw so many super chats at that. I was just like, please, go for it. This man is gold.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy.
No.
And so those are my two favorite NPCs to run in superhero games, for sure.
Welcome to the stream, Halakar.
Thank you.
You've been here. You've been in chat pretty much all stream.
Yeah, I had to work till 5:30.
So you both play in games and run games. Do you have any techniques you use for NPCs? Are you a heavy preparer, or are you an improviser?
A lot of it depends on the NPC. I know there's some that I know the group is going to at some point have interactions with. So, like I said, I'll give them a motivation and an outlook and a reason for why a goal. So, I mentioned the group of wolves that were attacking the sheep, were attacking the cows during the winter. There's another one. There's a farmer. He owns the biggest ranch in the area. My players, or the characters, are all minors. I think one of them has turned 18 now, but that was the thing. They were all just, at 0 level, they were all just teenage kids that had to step up during this natural disaster to help the town. Well, he has no use whatsoever for them because they're just a bunch of dumbass kids, because when he was young, his dad didn't have any faith in him, didn't think he'd ever be able to take over the ranch, blah, blah, blah. So therefore, he has learned that teenagers are worthless, they haven't proved themselves, and they have no abilities whatsoever. So he's not evil, but he is an antagonist for them. And his goal is to make money. That's all he wants to do, is get as much land as he can so he can get more cattle and make more money. His outlook is that if you are not, he's not part of the town council, but he thinks he should be. He thinks he deserves that spot. So his outlook is that he is an elder, but he's been snubbed. So that's one that
hard done by.
What's that?
He's been hard done by.
Yeah, in his mind, he has.
But he's got a farm, he's got cattle, and he's quite wealthy. So,
and his daughter ended up marrying a druid, so that's another whole contention that's in there. The druid was one of our players that ended up leaving the campaign, so we kept his character in as a contact point, and he ended up marrying the rancher's daughter.
Huh.
They're just absolute blind luck of the dice. They had random encounters with deer like 5 times in a row because just with the bell curve, the way my random encounter chart is, small game deer, things like that tend to come up the most in the woods closest to town. Well,
you've rolled them tonight then, by the sound of things.
No, these ones come up pretty frequently, but not normally this early. Normally it's after dark when they come up. But anyway, so the first time they showed up, it was a mother, a doe, and her fawn, and the ranger gave them some food. So the next time they showed up, I just said, okay, it's the same ones, and they actually approach you because they remember. So every time they show up, he gives them food. Well, now it's been a year since they began. They just came back to their hometown to collect their payment from their stake in the brine well that they helped the town develop. And this doe brought her no longer a fawn, a pretty good sized spike-horn buck to meet them, because the druid, he took over this town that had been totally wiped out by giant ants, which was had a sugar mill, which is what part of what the ants were after, or what the bad guys used to lure them in. And the druid was developing a special food out of mushrooms to help the cattle grow bigger, so they'd produce better quality meat and grow faster. Well, he's been feeding it to the deer as well. So this yearling spike-horn buck is actually pretty big, and they have a ring that lets them talk with animals up to 5 exchanges per week. And this deer has warned them that it saw some big black wolves and they should watch out for them. And eventually, it's going to work out that he, unless it gets killed somewhere along the way, is going to be one of the ranger's followers.
I mean, you could be. What sprung to mind for me when you would mention the ring to then speak with them is next time they go to the pub and they order a meat pie, the druid, the person with the ring, is able to speak to the pie because the deer has been hunted and they're now eating it.
Well, it has to be a living creature. This ring was
yeah, but I would have a last vestige of magic with the pie saying "Goodbye, my friend," just as you're as a character is chewing into it.
Well, this was a magic item that the veterinarian in town had, so he could ask animals he was treating 5 questions. Where does it hurt? Does this help? You know, basically, it helped him dealing with horses and cattle. And the veterinarian was killed in the flood. They recovered his body, and the town let him keep the ring as a reward for it.
All right,
nice.
The best NPC that, as a player, I encountered was when my buddy Dennis was taking us through Temple of Elemental Evil. It was the shopkeeper in Hamlet, not Davos or whatever, the one that starts with R, the 2 bad guys, but the good shopkeeper. And I can't remember what his name was. It was like Gottlieb or something that started with a G. so we called him Gut Bucket. That was just our nickname for him. And his thing, whenever we went to his shop looking for something, his line was, "I've got the finest lamps in 7 counties. Everything we wanted. He had the finest one in 7 counties." And he was just a used car salesman, slick, and would try to dicker on the price on everything. And he just stuck out mainly because normally
he's got a simple catchphrase.
Yeah,
often a catchphrase can make an NPC memorable.
And that particular DM rarely used NPCs at all. I mean, to be honest, most of the games I've played in, the NPCs were cardboard cutout that said maybe 3 things to you, and then that was it. They were absolutely disposable, replaceable, and forgettable. So the fact that any of them did anything makes them stick out, and that's why I try to give mine a little bit of something, just so that the players can have fun.
I mean, one I enjoyed playing recently, a completely improvised one, was the police officer in the game at the convention.
Yeah,
because
arguing with
I mean that character wasn't he was made up on the spur of the moment because they decided to go to the police station, which I didn't have written down at all, so I just made it up, and we had a very entertaining argument between that NPC and one of the characters, which went on for a little while, and I enjoyed that bit. I thought that was really really good, and it was completely made up, completely bullshitted. So yeah, bit of fun. I can't. What I was going to come to next. Where was I going?
Well, you're on
Somebody
about
did,
favorite
yeah.
NPCs that
Yeah.
DMs like to run.
Yeah. But we're talking about specific ones that you've played, you've put in. I mean, of course, I'm trying very, very hard not to mention a certain ancient vampire who I absolutely adore. Absolutely no. Who I absolutely adore playing in Call of Cthulhu.
Why
But-
not? Go on, give him the spotlight. We haven't heard from him in a
Oh,
while.
what's his name? I've heard about this guy.
Yeah. You all have. You all have. He's
What's his
nobody.
name?
He's nobody. Fenalik.
Fenalik, that's it. Yeah.
Yes.
So he basically likes to lick fennel. Is that it?
Yes, he does.
Well, who doesn't?
Not my
But
thing.
no. He is so juicy, so juicy. I enjoy bringing him in as and when.
See, even though by definition he's an NPC, I don't think of him as an NPC. I think of him as like an antagonist or the adversary.
Mm-hmm. You should.
Yeah.
Oh, I know where I was going to go. Right. Something I've noticed as a DM, and I think it's a bit of a well-trodden tale, is that no matter how many times you put in an entirely benevolent NPC, the players don't trust them.
Garth Sterling
Yeah. Wonderful man.
literally was giving them a superhero legacy they could take up because they had saved those assholes from death, and then those assholes retired because they realized they weren't as good as they thought they were, that they got captured and these nobodies rescued them, was offering them funding, was offering them everything. They would have been set and just been the Justice League. The campaign would have taken a step to them being the fucking Justice League. No, he's an evil corporate guy. He's up to shenanigans. It was insane. Texas watched live. He could tell you what they did.
The arguments were just baffling me, and some of the things of like, where is the catch? Where is it? It's just like, well, you don't air out your dirty laundry for the public because you're going to be a public figure. So quite sensible things that you would expect for anyone that's going to be, whatever you really want to classify them as. You're going to be an influencer. You're going to be in the spotlight, in the public eye. You don't want these characters to start doing things or like drugs, getting drunk. You want them to be participating in charities, things like that. Normal things you would be expecting, and it's a large sum of money. It's about $1 million.
Look at what Nerdstar just posted.
We could have it all if only we worked for Lex Luthor.
She decided he's Lex Luthor. Nothing he did other than be stinking rich would imply he was Lex Luthor.
I don't see him as Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor has a very different personality.
You ever see Gremlins 2?
No.
If you watch Gremlins 2, John Glover plays a character in that movie called Daniel Clamp. And that's exactly who he's based on, really. Is like Daniel Clamp is that Ted Turner, Donald Trump slammed together. But if you watch the movie, at the start of the movie, you're going, boy, Daniel Clamp might be stupid or evil. But at the end of the movie, it's like, oh my God, this guy's a hero doing what he wants. He's just trying to, in his own stupid way, trying to make the world a better place through his idiot actions. You know what I mean? And that's what this guy is. But no, it's Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor.
I mean, the reason why the players don't trust any NPCs is because maybe once or twice they've been stung, and it sticks with them throughout their adventuring career.
Could be.
So I'm going to take Beetle from my campaign in Heroic. One of my players is absolutely head over heels loving the character. He loves the fact that Beetle goes like, oh, you're a superhero, great. You're assisting in these things, great. Do you want a stipend for doing these things? And he's like, yeah. Like, what do you need me to do back? It's like, just pay it forward. Help another team rise up and do good. That's all I'd ever ask of you, and that's all I'd ever ask you to ask the person in front of you when they ask for a helping hand. And the player just went, that is a man with morals. That is a man with good conviction. I need our group, the players, we need to be on this man's team because he is good. This is a good man doing a good job. And he is rich. Beetle is not poor. He has money. He has technology. It's awesome.
But he's dead in Bear's game.
He's dead in Bear's game. He's alive and kicking in mine.
He's soon going to be dead.
In mine?
Well, I don't want him to die, but it's not up to me, is it?
Well, at the
I'm
moment
not one who's
he's
had
not
any interaction with him.
Yeah, at the moment he's not anywhere near harm at the very least, but that's all depends on how the game goes. But that's a case of that. But there's also there are also other cases where I've run where the players work for extremely influential and powerful entities. Take Warhammer 40,000, where you work for the Inquisition. You work for someone who has straight up a blank check for anything that they need to do. You start working for them, and although yes, they're not going to be in their best relationship, it's probably a better relationship than some of the other places you're going to go to. Yes, I get the whole trope of, oh, they are rich, they must be morally corrupt.
Yeah.
I don't always go down that route. As a matter of fact, people of that status often have their own agendas that they're going towards, and surprise, it might actually align with the players. But do the players want to do fucking homework? No, they don't.
Well, okay, let's take that game. Let's take that heroic game. Sorry to talk about my shit, guys. I apologize, but it's relevant to the point.
Well, I need to go make myself a drink, so
okay,
fill
fine.
the next 5 minutes.
I'm enjoying it. Carry on.
There was a bit early on when they were figuring out that they had to go rescue the Centurions, that one of the Centurions, Kestrel, had shown up at their base having escaped. And she basically interjected herself into their team and helped them organize everything to get going. And then her and Nebula, Dungeon Damsel's character, decided they were going to go on their own because everybody was pissing them off. And they started bonding on their trip there. And Kestrel just made this offhand comment of, yeah, I'm a bigger bitch than you. And she's, I'm the bigger bitch. Ha, 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 ha. And then when they got in the base and they got to the place, she said, yeah, I told you I was the bigger bitch, and tasered her and handed her over to the villains.
Oh,
and watching the players' reaction to that was chef's kiss gold, because she didn't see it coming at all. Didn't realize they were being played. So naturally, of course, she decides, they all decide, now Kestrel must be working with the villains because of this and that and other thing. And then they finally find out, oh, no. She's not working with the villains. She's working for Nebula's father, who was the biggest supervillain of the 1940s and 1950s, Blackstar, it's been this thread throughout the whole campaign. And that's when it really struck home for Nebula's player that, I've been hoisted on my own petard. I wanted to have my daddy be a bad guy, and now it's all coming back to me. And that's what you got to do. If they're going to give you things to work with, find NPCs to use to be the manifestation of Nemesis in those points. And make sure they do not see it coming. And you'll get a great reaction out of them. It's really fun. Or I could be wrong. I don't know. Thank you for telling my TED Talk.
So you know how people are being arrested and they read their Miranda rights? That's basically the same thing for you and Saxius, isn't it? Anything you say can and will be used against you.
Give me a character background. Please. I beg you. Something. Anything. I want it.
I wrote an 8-page backstory. Would you like to read it before the game starts?
Before the game starts? No, but I'll take the next week to go through it with a highlighter to find all the moments where I can traumatize you.
I have players that will how much of a backstory should I do? None. Things will come up as we play the game that will be your story. Your backstory is the fact that you were this was your profession, or the profession of the family you were born into, that is your secondary skill.
In a superhero game, you need a backstory, right?
Because
when you get the players together, it's the Avengers, it's the Justice League, right? the idea is that when they're apart, it's their own comic, it's their own book. So we need some backstory, and then we have a thing called blue booking, where they can tell me what happens between sessions with their characters, which is pretty much considered to be what's going on in their own comic book series, right?
Yeah.
You need that kind of stuff. In a fantasy game, I agree. Most characters in a fantasy game should be, I'm fresh new starting for the first time. And it annoys the shit out of me when someone gives me a big fantasy background, including, and not limited to, a shit ton of travel before they start the game. It's like, how did you go through all these dangerous areas and you're still level 1? Like, how is that fucking possible? You know, it's just not. So it becomes I think it's a double-edged sword. But any kind of backstory, even if it's just their childhood, gives you as the GM hooks that can give you NPCs that you can then use to torment the life out of the players. And
I guess I shouldn't say no backstory, because I played when 2nd edition first came out with the purple books, the Fighter's Handbook. I decided I want to play a gladiator because, well, you know, the movie had just been out, and I loved Spartacus. So, anyways, when I rolled up my starting languages, the reason that I could speak those languages because I had interacted with beings from those races in the pits, whether they were other gladiators in our stable or, you know, we're going to this country and we'll be fighting a lot of them. But, you know, I don't need to know about how your dad's second cousin's third wife did whatever. You know, I'm glad you are so invested in the game that you put that kind of effort in. But don't expect me to craft the whole game around every one of my players' backstory. And again, you're right. I've never played a superhero game, so I have no basis in that. When I played Vampire, our game master was big in backstory, so I wrote a backstory, you know, but
yeah.
You have to in Vampire, you have to have your backstory before you got embraced, right?
Yeah. Well, and we played in the Middle Ages, and my vampire was English, and he obviously hated the French. Well, we had one vampire that was it was an Asian vampire or Oriental vampire. When that book came out, somebody had to play one.
Oh dear.
No one could speak. He couldn't speak the same language as anyone else, but I took the time to show him hand signs and stuff so we could kind of communicate. Well, whenever we ran into someone who spoke French, I would draw a picture of a snake and point to their mouth. Like their language is slithery like a snake, therefore they worship a snake god, and you should kill everyone you meet. Oh, a lot of NPCs that were integral to the game were slain by that Oriental vampire because they spoke French.
Well, again, the medieval times, France was, you know, the US of Europe. They were everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Well, aside from that, yes.
Well, in the backstory, they killed my wife before I was able to embrace her. So that was where my hatred.
Wow, that would get you Lex Talionis in my fucking domain. Oh, you embraced your family member? Are you Giovanni? No? Okay. Ventru, double. Yes. We need less of you.
Well, and then the prince got hit by something with aggravated damage and was supposed to die at the end of the scene. I cut my wrist and I gave him like 10 blood points worth, basically turned him into my thrall. And
my God.
Hey, the master allowed it, so that's what we did. So therefore I was the puppet duke of the of that region.
You're doing Middle Ages or Modern Age?
Middle Ages.
Middle Ages, yeah, that's different.
Yeah.
Though still, if I was a Bruja, I'd be coming for your ass. Anyway, let's get back on topic now that Ye Olde Geek's back and missed my charming story about using an NPC to betray a player.
Well, that's what sort of topic I wanted to sort of talk about. The idea that it seems natural that players don't trust NPCs, and yet, Iman, what percentage of NPCs that I've introduced into my various games have actually been bad guys?
Like 10%, maybe less. I don't know. It's very few.
It's just that it's natural for the players to assume that everyone could be part of that 10% for ages and ages and ages until pretty much exhausted any chance that they are a bad person. That seems to be not so much the case with you lot on a Tuesday. I think you have picked up on the fact that each chapter's probably only got one or two bad people in, and the vast majority are going to be good. And your characters would realize that most are good, and I treat them with respect until given reason not to. But there's certainly I've certainly encountered it in other games whereby there is an apprehension whenever an NPC is encountered, because there is an assumption that this NPC is there to provide a challenge. And so what's the reason for that negativity or not so much negativity, but
Trust issues.
Trust issues, yes.
Many years of bullshit.
With them.
Yeah.
Many years of player versus DM-itis.
Yes. Many years of that. Probably a number of modules where it's been included, and just generally, just as we were evolving into the hobby, certain things just occurred, which cemented it down, and it became a trend going forward. What I am seeing these days is not so much, we don't trust the NPCs. It's more, we are creating a party that is meant to be self-sufficient at all times. We do not need outsiders. We do not need to share the loot. We do not need to share the XP. Those are heathen words to bring to our table, Oscar. We will not share any of our precious things unless we are in a desperate situation, in which case we will have to reconsider our stance on whether or not we should kill them to regain said XP.
Yeah, my group, they're not quite that isolationist yet, but when they when they take on a hireling or something, the magic user treats them like they are absolute scum of the earth. So that reputation has gotten around, and now it's hard for them to hire NPCs. Well, despite all the hooks and hints I gave them, they decided to do something totally different 2 weekends ago when we played. They found a hatch on top of this pillar. They set off the trap trying to open it. They finally got it opened, and they looked down, and it descended into darkness farther than their light showed. So they lit a torch and dropped it down there. Well, the shaft comes right down in the middle of the barracks of the things that use that to get up to the upper world, and they alerted everything that they were there. So they heard shouting down beneath, closed the hatch, and left. Well, then they came back. Oh, we know you have to do this to bypass that trap. So they did that. Well, the cleric down there had cast explosive runes on it. So the dwarf that was blinded. Nobody could cure blindness. So they had to spend a month of game time getting him to a big enough urban center that there was a cleric that could cure blindness on him.
Yeah, actions have consequences.
Yeah,
and the world will react to your actions.
Yeah,
that's what should happen.
The third time they went back, the trap that the cleric had set there was actually a level drain, 10-foot radius level drain. But the magic user said, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to cast a dispel magic just in case," and he got a really good roll and dispelled it. So then they only had a poison dart trap and spears, but.
I have,
but yeah, the thing is, heaven forbid they hire a cleric to come with them. They had a different set of spells than what they've got. We don't.
That's a shame.
We bring someone else in. That's one less share of treasure that we get to split.
Yeah, I mean, I think this whole self-sufficiency has been somewhat promoted by the game mechanics of the current iteration of the biggest role-playing game, in that characters no longer have such defined niches, and the party is able to become self-sufficient pretty quickly.
I'd go so far as to say I saw that back in 3.5, but that's also where we saw a major turning point from AD&D into the next generation of D&D.
Remember, I didn't play much 3.5. I've played.
No, but that's fair. I'm here to try and cover where I at least know. Either way, but yeah, I mean, there's also what's it called? Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's not really much more I can say to that.
Well, and I kind of blame Saxius for their greed too, because nowadays I tax the hell out of them.
Yeah,
that's why they don't want to share another portion of the loot, because now they might not be able to afford to pay for training to go up a level because they had so much in money they had to pay to exchange their coins every time they go to a new city, and the taxes just to get in through the gate, and all the guild memberships they have to be in to even try to practice their skills in that county.
I think NPC relevance and NPC roles and a willingness to interact with NPCs is very much governed by the type of game, the game system, the game genre. Certainly,
yeah, this is a point that I wanted to make. So, in Call of Cthulhu, it naturally being an investigative sort of game, you're supposed to sort of investigate, and therefore you have to sort of, innocent till proven guilty sort of thing. Whereas in something like D&D, I am less likely to trust NPCs because they are just like us. You know what I mean? They're not like necessarily just a story element to investigate. It's like, oh shit, like this person can do whatever the fuck they want as well. Yeah.
I've only had one evil intent NPC in my game. There's a lot of them that don't have the same interests as the party, so they might decide that they are adversarial, but there's only been one who was trying to sacrifice them to the demon of discordant music. So he wanted to capture them all and kill them. But other than that, they have not run into an NPC that truly had ill will towards them. But there's a lot they think do.
Keep it. Well, yeah. I mean, I know I've already sort of semi-moaned about the fact that players don't trust NPCs, but having that level of caution is necessary I guess in the world espoused by old school D&D games. And as Iman said, it is different in Call of Cthulhu because, and especially the players must know that every city they are stopping in, 99.999% of the populace are utterly unaware of.
Yeah, 99.9% of them are oblivious to the fact that we're there. 0.09% are good, and then the 0.01% are bad.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's literally like just a normal world with only a few NPCs that actually have any value of like interacting with.
But for the world to feel real, you can interact with whoever the hell you like, and it's up to me to make them up on the spur of the moment.
Exactly. But in terms of like pre-generated NPCs for the adventure, there's only a few in each chapter.
There's typically 5 or 6, yeah.
Well, and each type of game you have to go into with a different mindset too. If you're playing D&D, you're going to be looking at it differently than if you're playing Call of Cthulhu. At the convention, in your Call of Cthulhu game, the group that got themselves wiped out were not investigating. They found one thing and they went off half-cocked on it, and every last one of them got killed.
Yes.
Because they weren't being investigators. They thought they were being heroes.
Yes, precisely. I think Andy makes a fair point here. How many older D&D scenarios had a friendly NPC turn around and betray the PCs?
That's why they made doppelgangers, just for that.
Yeah, exactly. No.
Were they like written into the module, you mean? Or like just... Oh, right, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ravos and Gramag, those are the two shopkeepers in Hamlet that were working for the elemental temples. They were there simply to spy on and do dastardly things to the party and the people in town.
But yeah, no, that's what I meant when I was saying, like, even from the older D&D, it's been carried in, and because those experiences and many people just took up the modules and ran them, that's where the experiences came from. It's like, don't trust the NPCs. Why? They'll betray you. They'll take this, so on and so on. But I want to turn it over to a different system. I want to again pick on heroic because I'm really enjoying it.
Getting away from
Me too.
No, yeah. But my point is, I want to take it over to heroic because there's a lovely aspect of heroic where you've got your renown, you have got your dynamics, and you've got all of these other like baked-in mechanics that then allows you to go out and say, like, right, do I know of another hero, or do I know of this villain? Are they known? Are they something that I could have heard of? And then at that point, you have a chance to then say, like, yes, no, maybe. The more
it's a
renowned
response check, right? So it's basically their response check. It was designed not just for dealing with other heroes; it was designed for your contacts, because everybody has contacts, and they think they can just call on them any old time they want. And the contact's just going to stop their life and do whatever the fuck the player wants. Well, no, you need to generate a response. You need to be, hey, Halakar, I know you're busy running your business and all that shit, but we really need a jet. Can we borrow your jet? And you got to make a response check to see how they. Maybe Halakar goes, yeah, absolutely, have the jets tanked up, ready to go. Or he might, in a fumble, he might go, no, and don't ever call me again.
Halakar doesn't let people borrow his car, let alone a jet.
And also, Halakar would constantly, if he was an NPC, refer to himself in the third person like that.
Exactly.
Halakar feels he can do this for you, yes.
But yeah, no, I quite like that because there's been several moments where, especially leading up to the event that's taking place, where the players have basically gone, we need help. We desperately need help. We cannot do this on our own. We are street heroes. We are not up there. We need professionals. We need an adult.
I think so. A lot of it depends. It seems to be down to whether the game pushes forwards an idea that the players are going to have to be reliant on NPCs at some point. And is that the case in heroic? A lot of times, where there is
but you might need something, or you might want something, or you might require something. You are mostly self-sufficient as superheroes, but you are going to ultimately run into situations where we need to get to the moon because we just found out that the tablet of ancient evils is on the moon. And I don't know about you, Knife Boy, but I don't think Katana Dan or Shadow Girl happen to have a rocket lying around. So I guess we're going to have to go talk to that guy who has a rocket to see if we can convince him to letting us go to the moon,
Or some silver guy on a surfboard who can...
Well, if you have him as a contact, good for you.
Yeah, but even then, though, like if you were to look at, I'm gonna pick up Batman because I'm a fanboy. Just look at how often he makes contact in with the GCPD. Look at how often he has to reach out to check in on things. So even when Batman's having to hack things, he still has to rely on Alfred. He still has to go and check in if he's got if Robin's around at the time. He's got to go and check in with him as well. You'll get some assistance on that. There is a multitude of things that you're going to be needing for that, and then that means NPCs. And look at I mean, I can even like pull out my rogue trader for 40,000 Warhammer 40,000. The NPCs are crucial at that point. Your renown, your wealth is humongously important, and it's all down to what you do and how you engage with other factions.
Here we go. We have a question from the panel, from the chat to the panel. Do you have any tips to endear an NPC to the players and make them care about them?
Okay, is the players invested in the game? If they're not, then your answer is already kind of there. If they're not willing to put in the effort, that's my first, thing that I look for. If players are invested into it. So I'm going to pick on my heroic game because I found that the players there are invested. They enjoy the characters that are
No, it sucks. I hate it.
Yeah, well, you keep showing back up. You've got Saxius syndrome. So if they are engaged with it, I try to again do the whole analyze the characters, the players, find out what it is that they're about. and try to then do something or bring someone out that is going to be like gelling with them. I know with Night Owl, it was Night Hawk that was the big thing. With you, Iman, there's been a number of NPCs. For Aaron or Flux, the big one for him has been Beetle, and he absolutely loves them. So it's all about finding out what is an NPC that's going to gel or like bounce back and forth with their character, and you have to match their energy.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Find what makes you play it tick, right?
Yeah, but you as the DM, you've got to put on your acting hats, and I'm not a very good actor. But I try to just put in the energy that I feel is in the same wavelength as the player. If they're a high energy character, all right, try to match that. Try to be snazzy. You got to do things. You got to do that. If it's a character that's often overlooked, have someone who goes like, "Hey, man, you're good. I've seen you on there. You're doing a fantastic set of work. That's awesome." Things like that makes the player go like, "Ooh, they're reacting to me. My character is being acknowledged. There's something here that's going."
I mean, for me, it's make the NPC feel like a person. That is key. Make them feel like a person. Make them feel more than just a few words on a page or just a few numbers, depending on the game you're playing. Have the NPC engage with the player characters. Have the NPCs be interested in what the player characters have to say, and try and get the NPC to say things that the player character might be interested in, and share a drink and stories and that sort of thing.
Like Vector was stroking Quantum Logic's ego. He loved that.
I find if the NPCs ignore them, much like women and cats, the players will come running. Especially if you can make the NPC cool in the way they present themselves, and then ignore the players. But we're the players. Why would you ignore us? No. There must be a secret here. And they come. Try too hard, I find. You have the NPC be too friendly, and you might get a backlash that you weren't expecting. Perfect example, Coco's in the chat. The session where Tyrannus and Gyro met. I have rewatched that video 5 times, trying to figure out what happened between them. But Coco's character took an instant dislike to Gyro. I picked up on it, I think, as a role player, and Gyro's like, "What the fuck is this guy's problem?" And the two of them just hated each other immediately. No one insulted anybody. No one called anybody names. They just took an instant dislike. Mm-hmm. Couldn't have planned that. That just happened in the moment, so it worked out really well. The pre-mentioned Conquistador thing. I don't know why they fucking loved him, but they loved him. It's weird. Players are weird. You can't invest in them reacting the way you want them to react. That is a fool's errand, and you will go broke. So just do the best you can and respond as a living character to their behaviors.
Well, now when you were talking about Conquistador, the first thing that came to my mind was Tuco from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, who was, technically, I guess, the bad guy, the evil guy in that movie, but he was a character that anyone who watches Westerns knows. So it had that little subliminal, hey, I know something about this guy, even though I know nothing about him, just because he reminds me of this. And that is something that you can do with an NPC. That's why I have used NPCs that were loosely based on people from movies and television shows and things like that. Even if it's just one part of their personality, or they have an interest that aligns more closely with what the party wants than, say, the other NPCs. Or I think it was John that was talking about. There was somebody in their group that the only reason they were adventuring was to get money so they could afford their wedding. So everybody in the party just loved them and tried to make sure they lived and got through it. Just something like that has an emotional buy-in, some kind of buy-in. That's all it really takes. And it can start out with something small, and when you see their eyes light up, you know something you can add more to.
Yeah.
That's
wait and see what the players grab hold of, and then use it.
And that's why I mentioned my campaign is like a Rorschach test. I have so many hooks for things that I will never develop, because if the players don't pick up on it, I'm not going to spend my time. But if they do, if there's something they really like, well, now I've got something we can add in later on.
Yeah, they take your beautiful Rorschach, beautiful butterfly, and turn it into a diarrhea stain.
Oh, that's the Codex Albana campaign.
No, that's what DeVere's doing.
Yeah. DeVere's the only problem in that campaign.
Yeah.
Just DeVere.
I mean, you know, I hate to rub salt in a wound, but look, the chickens with the Goblin campaign, I guarantee that was not part of the plan on that game.
No.
Not if that just could have helped it.
No, but we were in a mood of where we say yes and not doing that again.
Yeah, I'm more of a fuck no. That's my style.
Yeah, no, I tried to
They're
yes
doing
and
really insane. I'm just like, what are you, fucking stupid?
Well, one thing I'm really trying to do in my game is adopt the attitude of, you can absolutely try that.
I mean,
Yeah, that's the old adage. You can try.
Yeah.
You know, you just say that, and then watch the player suddenly second guess everything.
Oh, I don't even change my tone of voice. Like, oh yeah, let's try that. What are you gonna do? Well, yeah, when they set off the trap the first time, they found a stone that had an impression of a 4-fingered hand with flames around it that fit into this lock. It's okay. So what do you do? Well, we're going to put that stone in there. Okay, now what? Well, we're going to push it. Nothing happens. Well, I'm going to turn it. Which way? Clockwise. Okay, you get about a quarter of a turn, and then it meets resistance. Well, I'm going to turn it the other way. Okay, you turn it counterclockwise. It goes back up to top dead center. Then you turn it about 90 degrees again, and you meet resistance again. What are you going to do? Well, one resistance was breaking open a crystal flask that had a paralyzing agent in it, and the other one was undoing a screw that when they did 3 complete turns, then they had to push, and that opened the door. So, you know, you can try anything. You can push, pull, twist, whatever you want with that, but it may not work. Or we had the dwarf who's a fighter thief that thinks he's just a fighter and always almost ends up dying. The rest of the group finally got him to try to do something thief related, and he picked the absolute dumbest thing he could possibly do. He tried climbing up a wet, slimy wall to get behind something to backstab it. Dwarves don't climb very well to begin with. So the first time he tried to do anything remotely thief-like, he fell from the rafters of this building and almost died from the fall. So you can try anything you want.
Yeah, and you can say anything you want to NPCs.
And that never blows up in your face.
no.
So let's go to game systems that specifically promote role play.
What?
With NPCs.
Okay.
Specifically promote the importance of the NPC.
I mean,
In the mechanics, directly and unequivocally.
First edition D&D tried to, because they had all the reaction adjustments based on race interaction. They had your charisma modifier, but the modules themselves didn't necessarily have it built into them. That had to be something that the DM added.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to say one here, and that is the One Ring.
Never played it, don't know.
The player's healing and recovery was all dependent on being in an area declared to be a sanctuary. And to make an area a sanctuary, you had to basically establish a bond with key NPCs that were in these certain locations. For example, the Elves of Rivendell. If you went to Rivendell and you got on well with the elves, Rivendell would become a sanctuary, a potential place of rest. So in this way, the NPCs were integral to the ability of the player characters to get a chance to rest and recuperate Otherwise, they were screwed out by themselves. That's the sort of thing I was thinking of. Any other games that do anything sort of similar to that?
Warhammer
West End Game
40,000.
D6 Star Wars. That had a lot of interaction because a lot of the things you were doing involved infiltration, espionage, things like that. There wasn't as much hack and slash in the store-bought modules. So that, but okay, it was in the adventures, but there wasn't a mechanic for it. It was all 100% role play between the player and the game master. So if the game master was not used to that or wasn't any good at it, it was going to fall flat.
Okay.
I am going to say Warhammer 40,000 Imperium Maledictum. From the very get-go, before you even make your characters, you are going to be making what's known as your patron. The person that you work for, the organization from which you hail in the Warhammer universe. Once you've done that, you now need to roll out what your relationship is with all of the other 9 factions. From that moment, your entire game is going. You will be interacting with the other factions. That you cannot escape that. Your predisposition, because you are associated with this organization, is going to be putting you at a back foot. But your backgrounds, your previous jobs, your homeworlds in this sci-fi game can all change how that interaction can go. If you decide to go out with, hey, yeah, I'm actually one of you guys, because I used to work in the agricultural sector, C-14 on the lunar planets of Hades. And then right there, you've got a way in. You've got a setup right there that is systematically promoting for how the players are going to have to interact, because you can't avoid not dealing with the bureaucratic side. You cannot not avoid not dealing with the criminal aspect of the world. You cannot not avoid. You cannot avoid having to go on a spaceship. Like, you will have to interact with all these factions. These are core factions, and it's baked in. You have to interact with them. You have to develop rapports. That's another key function. You have to develop contacts. You have to develop, you've got to develop your own little network as a group. So
Okay.
the game promotes for you to go out and do that. Yeah, go on.
No. So that's a good example of the game world is doing that as well as the game mechanics by the sound of things. So yeah, that's the sort of answer I was looking for. So that's
definitely that one. There's a bunch of others, like, again, Rogue Trader has a huge thing about you've got to, again, interact. You are the lords of a ship that has got, I think the smallest ship has got 50,000 people working on it. That's the smallest ship. And you are in charge of all of their lives. You are going to be having some major NPCs that you're going to have to deal with. And it's baked in the different ranks, even the hierarchies of the variety of different cultures you're going to be coming from. And yeah, as Daryl's just thrown in there, Vampire. Vampire has so much when it comes to role-playing. Anywhere from you having context to how you are going to be having your presence it reacted to.
Call of Cthulhu has its on the character sheet a space for significant people, and significant people can have an influence on bouts of madness, but also can provide for times of recovery if you're playing a long-term game. If you interact with a significant person, it will help you recover from your loss, your losses. I'm gonna another little comment here. It's quite interesting. NPCs are a good excuse to make your dream characters. As for years and years and years being an eternal dungeon master, yes, yes. But there again, I wanted to play more than I did. I just ended up being the DM all the time. I know Bear and Saxius, you're quite happy being Eternal Dungeon Master.
I am never leaving the DM seat.
It requires a very special GM for me to want to be a player. Cody is a really good GM for me.
So, but from a personal point of view, where I wanted to play more, yes, very much so. This is true. This is true. Because I'd have all ideas for characters, and none of them would ever come to fruition because I just wasn't a player.
But doesn't this fall under the DMPC?
It depends on how much you force them into the game. You can have them just as passing characters. You can have them there for a session, been and gone. And a DMPC tends to be an irritating insertion, and all too often the DMPC can piss players off.
Well, that's the negative side of it, but you can still have basically the character the DM plays. It's a dungeon master playing character.
It's
just
not
there.
the same. It's not the same though.
Well, I know they've gotten a bad name because of all the horror stories.
Yeah.
Either way, I don't know. I gamed 8 years. I got all the characters. I mean, I reached level 27 and 3.5. I don't need to game anymore. I've done the major things I've wanted to do. Now it's mainly I want to run games and stories.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to bring up one example for this. Forest Oracle has a mad dwarf who's an absolute lunatic, who is given the stats of 14 intelligence and 15 wisdom.
But he's a mad lad.
Oh, he's a lunatic. He's insane.
Who did not want to have a character at some point that had the stats of Lareth the Beautiful?
Yeah.
What?
Village of Hamlet, the big bad guy in the moat house. He was like a 4th level character that I think had straight 18s. If not, there might have been 117 in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I've never read that model.
But no, I don't think it hinders. I don't think it hinders unless it's particularly egregious. I mean, in the Forest Oracle, we just took the piss out of it because it's there to take the piss out of. But
now, talking about the DM with the NPC that is his Mary Sue. Again, my buddy Dennis, who was my main DM most of the time, we would take turns for decades. He had an NPC Archer Ranger from the Dragon magazine that could do everything better than anybody ever. And he just had to run him as an NPC in every game we had just to show how powerful his character was. And we were in a particularly rough combat one time, and my buddy Paul's character was having a hard time of it. So when it got to his turn in the initiative, he was like, "What are you going to do?" And he said, "Well, I'm going to go over and grab a hold of Roth's leg." Roth was the Archer Ranger. And the DM was like, "Well, what are you doing that for?" And Paul said, "Because he never takes a hit in combat. I know I'll be safe if I'm hiding behind him."
Yeah.
Nerd's nerd. Yeah. I had to make an entire DM NPC party that shows up and TPKs the players every now and again just to keep them humble. That's a Saxius approach. I'm surprised Saxius hasn't done that. Or has he?
Oh, have you ever had characters from a previous campaign come back as NPCs and meet the new characters?
Yeah.
That can be fun.
Yes.
I have tried. I've not been very successful with it. So what I've done is I would have had like the rumors or the legends of what they've done be told on, and then that's sort of it. I find it difficult to do the whole like crossover. But that's me. Mind you, I do need to preface: the circles of players that I'm also running with are maybe not normal people.
I think that when I did that once, it was Call of Cthulhu, and we played a fairly lengthy scenario. And one of the characters got driven insane and barely escaped with his life. And we ended it with him basically being committed to an asylum. Several months later, they were in a scenario which took them to the Dreamlands. And and I placed this player's previous character as a soul in the Dreamlands, living in that insane world. The player loved it. The player really liked it. He liked meeting up with his old character again, talking about what he'd been through. Of course, his new player character didn't know, but the player himself did. But I've done that, yeah. Where was I going with? I think I'm pretty much exhausted on this topic.
Well, the old characters, the legend kind of thing in my most recent game, I think only 2 of the players would have made the connection, and they did, but they didn't expand on it. The inn, it's 12 days travel from the little town they start into Baytown, which is they just call Tax City because they have to pay to breathe in that town. At the halfway point, there's an inn called the Heartbow Inn. Ralph the Ranger that I just mentioned had a special bow that he based on the TV show Archer, Fugitive from the Empire.
I know that one.
So that bow is mounted up on the wall of this inn, and it's got plot armor. You can't steal it. There's nothing you can do to interact with that bow. But below that is a portrait of all the players or all the characters that were in that old campaign with their names. So 2 of my people got to see their old characters' names on there, and had they brought up, oh yeah, well I remember, Aya, who was a female fighter. If she had brought up what some of the stories from when she played in that campaign, and said, "Gee, I wonder whatever happened to this thing that we were trying to do back then but never finished," then I would have added that to the game, where that would be a legend they could follow up on. But neither one of the 2 did. So it's like, okay, well, it was there, but maybe someday you will, maybe you won't.
Maybe they're watching this stream and they'll realize that.
I can't get them to watch these things to save my life. The only one that did was actually the one that grabbed onto the Ranger's leg, because he was the one that played a lizard man at one point, and we had somebody polymorphed into a bugbear because we were trying to imitate a train of slaves going into the Underdark, and whenever the lizard man would talk, I would command the bugbear to whip him. So he showed up for a show one time just because I told him that was what the topic was going to be about that night. Yeah, they're losers.
One thing that Bear did last session.
What did I do?
One thing I quite liked was you bringing Philip back into it.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
I like it when a DM will almost let an NPC go for weeks, months on end, and then they come back, and it just reminds you that the world is ongoing, and it makes the world feel more
alive, engaging.
Okay, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Knowing that these are
that's what I like to do in games. Weird that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, the return of Philip, he has popped in.
Jovial as always.
Yeah, he hadn't changed. But there's something beyond the norm about him.
It was
No,
like
each of your characters fills a
nostalgic.
role. Sorry, was that IQ?
There's a little bit nostalgic. There's an
Yeah.
element of that. Because that, I mean, for in real time, that was so long ago. But obviously, in game time, it's not that long. But for us as players, it was nice just to be like, "Oh, Philip, yeah."
And that's the only time I've ever played a game with Hungar,
Same.
who of course created that character.
Yes, and then I turned him into Brian
Blessed.
Blessed.
Blessed. Thank you.
Yes. But there was something about the Brian Blessed about him.
Well, yes, and then there was a certain level of me having to remember sometimes as I'm having him talk that he's also crazy. So that's why every
Yeah,
now
he
and
keeps
then he'll be
slapping the High King.
We need to do these things, but I don't care what you want. Like every now and then I got to remember to make him insane. Otherwise, he'll become far too rational, and then you'll start doing what he suggests, and that way lies doom.
I was going to say Brian Bless is not sensible in real life. Never mind his characters.
But he's an engaging personality.
Oh,
Remember, all your characters fit a role in the cycle, right? He has a role. Andy, when he joins this next game, has a role.
Of course. We have a new player joining us. I didn't know whether we were going to mention that at all.
I thought I might as well mention it now.
Oh, yes. Bomb dropped.
Bomb dropped, yes.
Andy
is joining the game. So we will be 6 again. But we don't know anything about his character yet. We don't. Andy does.
We as players welcome him with open arms.
Yes.
Let's see how he gets on with Devere, though, in particular.
Welcome to the party. To be a part of the party, you need to pay a tithe of 150 crowns. Thank you.
Yeah. You need to immediately dislike Devere. That's how you become part of the group.
You need this man you shall not like. If you like him, you're out.
Poor Gerard Devere. He's just a stuck-up knobhead with little brains.
Called the Queen of the Wilds a whore. A pagan witch whore. The entirety of the island was rallying to be on your side, including the magical aspect of it, and Devere shit on it. Wonder if that's going to fuck you up somehow down the road.
Because he is intensely Catholic.
Because he is an ass. No more need be said.
Because he is intensely Catholic, very old school, and doesn't trust magic. It's all written there. It's all written there in your background material about the Palabrians there, Bear.
Yeah, I don't recall saying Palabrians don't trust magic. I don't recall seeing that written in there. That seems to be a Devere choice.
Yes.
I'm sure I read something that
the Catholics don't trust magic.
That's probably it. That's probably it.
Yeah.
I know. I just picked up on what was in the background material and took it.
Of course.
Yeah.
All you have to do is loudly proclaim, "Suffereth not a witch to live," and you're covered.
He does often.
Okay, well there you go.
Constantly, incessantly. To the point of where it's difficult finding allies.
Loved the magic sword, didn't he? For a guy who doesn't trust magic, he was up that magic sword's ass as hard as he could get.
Because it let him be very knightly and
it's not bad, but it's beneficial, is it now?
No.
He might just be a bit of a hypocrite.
Devere finally got to be a real knight for once instead of a cloth merchant.
No, he's always a cloth merchant.
But the point is, he is a bit of a hypocrite because he's got this noble attitude, and he's not he's not noble by blood. It's built into his background.
That's a bit of a pain in the ass. Devere is not a bit of anything.
Okay, but it's all based on the lore and what the dice gave me at the start.
I take that we're off the topic of NPCs now.
Basically an NPC in my mind at this point.
It's all right, mate. You don't have to have an aneurysm. I think
I'm just making sure that...
And it was no Saurian, yes.
It was no Saurian, yes. No Saurian was the man who gave gold pieces to the flock.
So Devere is 100% overcompensating. That's his thing.
Oh yeah.
He knows that he's an imposter in that role, really. He's trying to overcompensate and make up for it.
Yeah, of course he is.
And he just ends up being an ass.
Yeah.
Sorry, are we still on about Devere or who?
Yes.
Okay.
You can be quantum logic.
In the pumpkin hour. Come on.
No, but what would this campaign have been without Devere to stir the pot?
Well, and see, that right there is a reason why a lot of times NPCs don't resonate. I mean, you may remember them, but it's because they are monodimensional, one extreme of something,
Almost like you've met DeVere.
Well, that's what got me thinking about it, because I mean, I have seen that happen as NPCs, like the town bully. That's all he is just a bully. It's like, there's got to be more to it than that.
Well, I mean, that's not all true. Like, he does care about his compatriots. Like, he always avenges anyone who's fallen. He does have some, like, honor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's got plenty of honor. He's just misguided in the way he applies it.
But on a separate thing, I've also seen one group where I've had a player come in, have a bad day, and he was interacting with the NPCs. And because he's had a bad day, he decided that, I'm just going to roleplay out my stress on the NPCs. Now, I gave him 2 in-game warnings, and I gave him 1 out-of-game warning, and he pressed on, and effectively a group of NPCs went, right, we are going to finish this, but we're done. We're not going to interact with you. We're going to have separate camps from now on because you are picking on our wizard. We don't like that. We don't like that you're giving him shit. We don't like the fact that you're talking over him. We don't like the fact that you're now calling him names and making him feel less of himself. So, ergo, you will no longer work with us. We will finish this mission together, but we are not working with you in the future, and we will have nothing to do with you. I had players who were unable to attend that session come back in, and then that player who did it explained what happened, and they all sat and went, why would you do this? Why have we lost these people because you did this? He was like, that was the consequence. He decided, and I told him out of game, directly to him, that, I get that he had a bad day, but he had decided to ignore the warnings. Ergo, this is now going to continue. And I told him that next time, I would prefer that he doesn't show up and just tells me he needs to cool off, than come in and do this, because now he's affecting the fun for the other players.
Yeah, I had a little bit of empathy for him until you told me that you warned him. It's like, at that point, he knew what his actions were.
2 in-game warnings where I sat and went like, hey, listen, I'm not appreciating your tone. To be like, like, come on, stop that. And then I'll moment where I went like, okay, are you pressing on with this? And it was like, yeah, I'm going to continue. Okay, why are you doing this? All right, well, listen, here's the consequences, man. And I'm not backing down on this. I've given you this. I've just told you that. And now I'm telling you the consequences out of game. I've lowered the DM screen. Here it is. I'm laying it on you thick now. Person to person now. Because I was getting annoyed that he was doing that. So at that point, it's like, well, we're going to keep playing because it's our escapism. But you're not going to impact the fun of the others. So as a group, they had to sort that out.
And I played in a game where we had it, and I don't know what the reason was, but there was a character in that game who was acting like that. So my character took it upon himself to put a beat down on that character. Hey, you're back at the end recovery, and you can't go with us. Sorry.
No.
Of course, I was a chaotic neutral illusionist thief. I had no problem whatsoever beating his pompous lawful good ass. It made me feel good, but
well, it's just again the way that at least my mind works is that if it's if it's lessening the fun, then it's not worth doing.
That's fair.
I think Daryl's right here. Most memorable the NPCs are the ones that GM really portrays with a passion.
I portray all my NPCs with a passion when they kill your characters.
That's glee. That's not passion.
Not your echo still talking about Javia?
No, Dr. Gargantuan was definitely angry with quantum logic.
Listen, you could have talked to him. It wouldn't have been a nice talk, but you could have talked to him.
Stop it.
And quantum logic was like, look, he's tried to talk with villains before. It hasn't gone out. This time, he's just not going to even bother. And it was the one time he probably should have bothered.
John, would you mind taking that down?
I want to reply to it.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
I will say that the bluster you see from Devere, there is an inner lack of self-confidence, which will come to the fore at some point. There are things I've got planned as the way he's going to develop, and it just depends whether the right situations come up. Hint, hint.
Well, I mean, that note that you did was pretty poignant, I think.
I think I did that to show he's got a heart and he cares, even if he doesn't show it outwardly to people he's around, because he's got a facade he wants to try and keep up.
He let his guard down just for a bit.
Yeah, when people aren't looking.
So you're not just doing flat out Count Adamar from A Knight's Tale?
I don't know it. So
Oh my God, you haven't watched that movie?
No.
You need to
Really?
cut one of the corners off your
Princess
nerd
Bride
card.
is still on the list.
See,
We need to find you, and we need to tape you to a chair and then force you to watch all of the culturally important movies.
Yep.
I'm with them on that one.
I've watched that.
I'll bring the DVDs and we'll set him down.
I've watched 13th Warrior now, so
You're going to do the Clockwork Orange Ludovico thing on him.
I haven't seen
Exactly.
that either.
Yeah.
Oh, you saw 13th Warrior. What'd you think? You finally saw 13th Warrior. What did you think?
I enjoyed it. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's good fun. It's not deep. The plot's pretty simple.
Yeah.
But it does what it does very well. Enjoyed it. Good film.
Nice.
So there you go. I mean,
We got somebody who hates Queen.
That's why she died. Well,
Oh, for God's sake!
Oh,
but anyway, the point I was the next thing I completely forgot about. NPCs are also a bit of a tool for the DMs, if necessary, to push the players along the right way from time to time. Yay or nay?
Then comes the issue of trust again.
Is
It's the statement isn't. So my understanding of what you've just said is NPCs are there as a method and a tool for the DMs to just go on in this direction for the plot. Is that what you're saying?
That's why I said they're a tool that exists there to push the players in the right direction from time to time. Not
Right.
all the time, but
Well,
occasionally just give the players a bit of a nudge.
yeah, I was going to say push might be a little too strong of a word. Nudge or encourage.
Yeah, yes. They're in the DM's toolbox as a way of getting the players on track. You can use them to steer players from time to time.
Yeah, I mean, I was really disappointed. My characters decided to go up the pillar and go through that thing instead of down the water slide to get to the Myconid village and all that, because that was just going to be so much fun. But
I mean, it's not playing the game for them, but occasionally, it's certainly in a long-term campaign with an overarching narrative, such as Horror on the Orient Express. It is sometimes necessary to use an NPC to give the party a bit of a nudge. How often do the players ignore the NPCs no matter what? Yeah, you've done. You lot have done multiple times.
now, how many of you guys,
Well, that's what I mean.
in terms of D&D, for your clerics to get their higher level spells, do you actually have an emissary from their deity show up to grant them their higher level spells?
Not as often as it should happen.
I have used that as the nudge. I have never, which kind of disappoints me, I have never had a player running a cleric try to build a relationship with that. And I go with the divas and the solars and whatever the other one is out of the, I think it's Fiend Folio, as the messengers that come down and do that. But they have never tried to build a relationship with them.
Planetars.
Yes. Yeah.
Planetars. They're in Monster Manual 2.
But you've talked several times about not trusting NPCs. There are a dozen spells out there just to figure out if you can trust the NPC.
Yeah.
You can detect alignment, ESP, or detect evil, no alignment, ESP, all these different things. Any of the contact, higher plane, commune, any of those things, but they just don't get used for it.
No.
That's why. That's why Sir Tavir, my paladin, uses detect evil a lot, because you can, even just knowing if something has bad intentions can really change a situation.
And that's what detect evil should be used for. Bad intentions or a threat, not a substitute for no alignment. But so Saxius, I mean, and Bear, in Codex Albana, you have pushed the plot along from time to time using NPCs.
Of course I have.
Yeah.
NPCs have agendas just like players.
Yeah.
Why is that a bad thing?
I'm not saying it is.
No, I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying, but like this idea that NPCs should just be quest dispensers and recovery, stores is ridiculous. NPCs should have goals, just like Halakar said he writes down a goal for all of his NPCs. Well, there you go. Sometimes the NPCs want to get shit done, and you're going to be their tool to get the job done. And that's what you get for being big bad heroes. Don't like it? Become king.
So, Saxius, do you ever use NPCs to nudge the players in the direction you want them to go?
I'm trying to think here. I mean, I used them for like a sort of like projection of like this direction, but no more than like, okay, if you need a direction, that's kind of what I try to use them for. But again, if it's a sandbox, I leave it for the players to figure it out. If they decide to flop like a fish and let days and weeks pass by, I will happily pull out my spreadsheets and roll my beloved faction turns and just let the world play itself out. And then they can decide when they want to get engaged, when it's interesting for them. Because I've got ways to make it fun for myself. If it's a set, if we are on a train track, at that point, yeah, I mean that's needed at that point to keep the thing progressing. I mean, much like what Bear was saying, NPCs will have their own agendas.
I also sometimes have NPCs push them in the wrong direction, just to teach them not to think anything an NPC says is the word of the GM. That's kind of important sometimes too.
Yeah.
I've done that. I have done that in an AD&D game. Yeah. We've lost Iman for a moment. I was just going to bring up the last night's game with me using the NPC Amelia. The players were taking a very, very long time to realize that to force the stat. They'd worked out. It was Andy who discovered that light caused the shadow to slink back, and I was having it lash out at people and react angrily to the light. And the idea was to give the hint that light or fire, which produces light, was the only way to hurt it.
Yeah,
that was the hint I was trying to drop with that. And they were probably 5 or 10 minutes away from Amelia setting fire to that particular cabin in an attempt to hurt the shadow.
Were there players in the cabin?
Yes.
Then I fully approve of this.
Yeah.
She had done flaming oil.
She had torn off a piece of her nightdress, which we had randomly determined was cotton, so it would burn, and she was going to light it and fling it at the shadow, which would have set fire to the bed that the shadow was, because the bed, they're bunk beds, so the darkest part of the cabin would be between the two bunks, so the shadow was sort of lurking there, lashing out. She was going to fling this burning piece of cotton onto the bed and set fire to the bed. But then Anne, Ada's character, Ada, Anne's character, said something like, "For God's sake, just thrust your lighter into it." And it happened to be Amelia's turn next. So Amelia went, "Okay," and did. And it worked. But I liked that it was Anne that came up with that. But it was 5 minutes before Amelia was going to set fire to the train.
Yeah, sometimes you got to set fire to things.
Exactly. It's the only way to be sure. Nuke the site from orbit.
Iman, had you worked out that was what was going to happen?
Sort of. I mean, I was more concerned about not dying, to be fair, but that went well.
But I don't like. I mean, I will use intelligence checks occasionally, but I'd rather have them discover it in a slightly more organic way than just rely on a simple percentage roll. I'll do it from time to time, but I'd rather have an NPC nudge, but using dialogue or actions, and try and drop it in a way that makes sense. Not just blurt it out, but drop it in a way that makes sense. Doesn't always work, but who knows? But Amelia was that's what she was going to do, but it was going to obviously have consequences because the players had taken that long to deal with it.
She's clearly unhinged. As soon as she found out things were going down, she's like, "Right, where is it?"
Yeah. She has no fear. She has no fear. Literally, the write-up in the adventure says that she has turned down numerous suitors because she refuses to give in to the expected life of a wealthy heiress in the 1890s to marry and have kids. She wants to go out and explore the world and have adventures. She's headstrong. She's turned against her father, her mother, societal expectations. She's going to do what the hell she wants.
And she somehow resisted all the contested strength rolls against those trying to drag her away.
Yeah, because she rolled like an absolute beast. That's what had you all believing that she was some sort of superhero, whereas her stats are really quite normal.
The dice were definitely on one.
Yeah, they were. But okay, I noticed you're doing. You're talking about films for me.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, shall we discuss that now for the last 20 minutes? Things we've hammered out NPCs.
Knight's Tale is fun, but you really, really need to watch just for the sake that so many spells in D&D came from this one movie, The Raven with Vincent Price. It's not a horror movie. It's rated G, which I don't know what that would equate to in England. That you can take your 4-year-old to see it. But so many spells in the game came from what those two magicians in there did, and it's a Hammer film. I mean, it's funny. It's kind of got a story. It's got one of Jack Nicholson's very first roles ever, and Vincent Price. That's all you need is Vincent Price.
Boris Karloff.
Yeah, Boris Karloff's the bad magician. Peter Lorre is the comedic one, or not Peter Lorre. The one that actually gets turned into a raven. I can't think of who that was.
One of the very few Hammer horror films that weren't strictly Hammer horror.
Or Hammer, not Corman. I'm getting my B producers mixed up.
Corman's a bit of a different beast.
Yeah.
Comedy gothic horror film.
I don't think John could make it through Bone Tomahawk. That would gross him out to no end.
Bone Tomahawk gets way too much credit. It's an okay film. The story's okay, but the vulgarity of it is what sells it, and people then rave about it.
If you want to make troglodytes terrifying, make them like those cave-dwelling Native Americans.
Yeah, but at the same time, what makes that movie so popular is the grotesqueness of it.
Yes.
You know, it's very much a exploitative film. It's very, very, very high budget B film. You know,
Well, it's one of those ones I watched, and I'm glad I watched it to say that I have seen it, but I don't think I would watch it a second time.
yeah.
I won't watch things that are gory.
Then do not watch Bone Tomahawk.
No.
So don't make any suggestions of films that go over the top with gore. I could just about cope with the 13th Warrior, and there was still one scene in that.
Weeny baby wavy.
Still one scene in that, and you know the one, which made me go, ugh.
No, I don't. Which one?
When they found the rotting bodies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Your head has gone off in search of your hand. That's the line I like from that movie the most.
somebody mentioned that in that one they do have modern music. I mean, they've got Queen and they've got David Bowie and stuff, and for them it takes them out of the period piece. But I thought it fit in well, and it was just fun. But it's got some not totally stereotypical, but you know, you got the good knight who's actually, you know, has things going on, and you've got the knight that's a pretentious prick, and of course you've got a couple pretty girls in there.
Okay. Knight's Tale is not something you watch if you want medieval realism.
Yes.
But if you want something fun that will inspire you for some characters, absolutely. You will never see a better bard than you will see in that fucking movie. Okay? Fucking Paul Bettany as Chaucer is so good. He's what I point to when I go, not all bards sing and dance and play instruments. Some just talk.
Yeah, I just smoke weed and chat shit. That's what I do. Oh, and the bard, yeah.
I do have a soft heart, Straw. I am a softy at heart. I may run.
You got to look at that in terms of being a medieval history movie, as you would Raquel Welch, 50 million years BC, as a paleontology documentary. There's other reasons to watch those movies.
Yeah. The weakest part of the film is the female lead. She's really not good.
And her handmaiden was a lot better looking.
Yeah, and the armor smith girl was way better actress, way better looking. Yeah. She's the American they brought in to try and generate some bucks, you know. But Alan Tudyk, whatever, fuck, he's amazing.
Yeah,
your entrails will become extrails.
I will fong you.
Pain.
Oh, I recognize some of the names in there.
But I liked him in Firefly and Serenity. I mean, he's been in a lot of Resident Alien.
Yeah.
I just like him as an actor.
Yeah, he is good.
Very talented.
So you're saying the hardworking widowed blacksmith Kate is the one who's good looking?
No, well, she is, but the gosh, I can't think of the
something Sothaman or whatever her name is.
I don't know, the one with the long black hair that ends up with what's his name? The other squire, the hefty one,
the big guy. No, that's isn't that the female armor? No,
because she's married.
Yeah, no, but her husband's dead. Her husband's dead. That's why she took over the armory smithing, because her husband died.
Well,
which is why I always thought it was a mistake that they didn't put them together, because it was a good combination of those two characters. That's neither here nor there. Romance with NPCs. Do you do it? Do you leave it out of the game? What do you do?
I completely forgot about romance. It was in my mind ages ago, but I completely forgot.
No.
So what do you do? So far in Codex Albana, we have 3 romances on the go.
I allow it. As long as it's not forced, as long as it's not graphic, as long as it's not clearly done as some sort of way of Sado getting kicks, and as then it's fine.
I get my kicks above the waistline, sunshine.
Yeah.
Yep. But I don't like it because if your character has a significant other within the next 3 adventures, that significant other is going to get kidnapped, going to get beaten, something like that. That's going to force you into doing something, and I don't want it.
Let's see. Esmeralda is with the witches of Ambria.
That's bad because they're witches.
Genevieve is back in Elise, safe in her family haunt, and Siobhan is the princess of Ire. I don't know. They all seem pretty safe to me, right? Nothing could possibly go wrong, right?
Shush.
Okay, John, have you watched Excalibur from the 80s?
No.
Oh,
You've
my
never
God.
seen Borman's Excalibur? Brother, what is wrong with you?
I haven't seen it either, but
Oh my God. What's wrong with you?
Well, I haven't either.
I have a lot of problems.
Oh,
Wait,
from,
don't wait.
from the time, if you look at the time that it was put out, that era, it was very good.
It's still very good.
Well, if effects wise, you know.
Oh, get over
Yeah.
it. I can watch 60 Star Trek and suspend disbelief.
Oh, so can I, but some people can't.
You know, some people are idiots. John, have you ever seen Dragon Slayer?
Oh my God! When my niece, my little 10-year-old niece, when she wanted to start playing D&D, I said, "Watch this movie first," and gave her Dragon Slayer.
He doesn't watch TV.
I don't watch TV and films very often. I've watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy through multiple times.
Dragon Slayer was what, 80, 81, something like
Around
that.
time, yeah.
Have you watched Kingdom of Heaven?
No.
All right.
Oh, fucking Christ. I don't know what to do with this.
That rings a bell.
It's a good one.
I've seen Conan the Barbarian.
Gee.
Have you at least
That
seen
that
Disney
saves
Robin
you
Hood,
nothing.
where Robin is a fox and the Maid Marian is a vixen?
Have you seen Disney's Robin Hood with the animals?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
See, this is what's wrong with you.
Yes.
Which I will admit, I love that movie. I love that cartoon.
Yeah, very much the same.
I've seen Toy Story.
Let's end the conversation there. You're
Go to
making
bed,
a
John.
yes.
Go to bed.
Gosh. The Last Unicorn.
No.
No.
Okay. Again,
Yeah,
animated.
the biggest shock is he probably hasn't watched Young Frankenstein.
Oh
I
my!
haven't seen that either.
Oh my!
I haven't either, to be honest.
Legend with Tom Cruise.
No.
Willow.
Willow,
I've seen Willow, yes. It's been a long
Okay.
time since I've seen it. I saw that in my teens.
Labyrinth.
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Lady Hawk.
No.
That I like. Was Rutger Hauer that played the knight in that? I like that portrayal. What was? There's one that was like Lady Hawk or like Labyrinth.
All right.
What am I trying to think of?
It
I've
is
seen
midnight.
Highland.
I am going to be calling it my side. Gentlemen, it's been a lot of fun.
The conversation is strayed too far from the point. His brain cannot keep up. He's now
No.
tired and aggravated. Let him go before he invades a monastery.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
There.
Play a Hawk the Slayer.
I saw the first 20 minutes of Hawk the Slayer.
Awful
Not
film.
good,
I
but
don't know why people will love this film. It's so bad.
it's not good at all. But it is a slice of early '80s.
No, but it suffers from the why you don't shoot your low budget fantasy film in England. So you got all your American actors who can barely act. The script is garbage, and the special effects are shit. But all your British bit players are all Royal Shakespeare trained actors, so they're just putting everything they have into these characters, making them the two guys doing the arrow contest were far more compelling than the entire company of heroes. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's insane. Never shoot your low budget shit in England. That's the rule you learn from these kinds of movies. Or cast the entire thing in England. Don't bring any Americans in.
I like the absolute ridiculous weapons and things they bring into those, like the automatic crossbow and that, the retractable blade throwing star thing, the glaive they call the glaive from
That's
Krull.
that's from Krull.
Yep. The sword that had the blades that shot off it from was it Sorcerer?
That's Christ.
I actually linked that in the Discord when somebody said that's about a sword can't have more than two edges, so I put that little clip.
What the fuck is that movie? Why can't I remember that movie? It's fucking Matt Houston.
It's
And,
Sorcerer or something along those
Sword and the
lines.
Sorcerer. Sword and the Sorcerer.
Yeah.
It's got Richard Mull as the bad guy and all that shit. Yeah. It's an awful film.
No, Straw, I haven't seen the animated Sword in the Stone.
You know,
Have you seen The Black Cauldron?
I was just going to say that they butchered the book, but it still wasn't a bad movie.
I also haven't seen the Dark Crystal, which was mentioned earlier. I haven't seen that either. I haven't seen the Princess Bride.
Dark
as you know.
Crystal was pretty rough.
You've never seen Princess Bride? Does your wife like movies?
Yeah. She watches
Watch that movie with her. Watch that movie with her.
She watches all. She watches all the gory horror films.
No. Watch Princess Bride together. Both of you will get something out of it. It is a great couple film.
And before you start the movie, ask her if she wants any popcorn or something to eat. And whatever she tells you, you say as you wish and get it for her. Then watch the movie.
Yeah. Or don't be a cheesy bitch and don't do that.
Anyway, we are at Pumpkin Hour. We are past midnight, which is why Saxius has buggered off to go to bed, and I have work in the morning, so I have to bugger off and go to bed. So
I will not be able to join the Friday adventure the next 2 Fridays because with work and the holidays and all that, I just will not be able to get out in time.
Okay.
So, unfortunately, Sir Tavir will be staying in the tunnels. His horse doesn't fit through the backside or something, so he had to turn back.
Okay, no worries. That means they're down a paladin who can't hit anything.
Yeah, who likes rolling 4s to hit.
Yeah. Do your shillage, chaps. If you have something to shill it now.
Nope.
I don't give a shill.
Bear has a Patreon and a game and a channel.
Don't know what he's talking about. He's a crazy person. He's never seen Princess Bride.
Joker and IQ have channels, but haven't been doing anything on them for a little while.
Sorry, been inactive. Need to get back on the train.
IQ was on with Slan doing some kind of computer maze thing the other night.
Yeah. I was late getting back on Monday night, so I missed that one. And you all know in chat what I do on my channel. I read another Lovecraft thing yesterday. It's halfway through being edited.
Which one are you working on?
It is The Other Gods.
Not familiar with that one.
So I read that one on Tuesday. Got the audio on the other PC behind me, but it isn't all sorted out yet. So I'll probably upload that tomorrow if I get the time. But work is a little bit busy at the moment.
It's a little bit longer story, but you should look at Edgar Allan Poe's Arthur Gordon Pym.
Arthur Gordon Pym. Okay.
Even just to read it for your own entertainment, because it's an interesting story.
Okay. I will make a mental note, and it depends how long it is. If it grabs me, I'll record it. I have recorded some longer ones.
It's definitely got some Mountains of Madness vibe to it.
Okay. Just so you know, at work, at home at the moment, we're having our bathroom redone. So there's a disruption in the house. At work, we're having our shop completely renovated. So those of you who have a bit of the tism, like me, will probably understand that I'm finding it all a little bit stressful. Because everything about my daily routine has been completely thrown off the last few days or so. So
Hey,
I'm
what
just
do you recommend he do for his stress?
what?
Oh, he's not listening.
He's on his weed.
Just exactly what you said, yeah.
So yes, I've been a bit sort of disorganized these last 3 or 4 days because my routine is completely thrown out. Hey ho, that's the way it goes. I don't cope well with change.
Let's go.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna depart because I do have to go to bed. I have work tomorrow. I'm not looking forward to it. The shop's gonna be filled with workmen blasting out their music, which is really annoying. So just imagine me when you wake up in the morning. I'll be stomping around the shop going, "Go away, leave me alone."
Angry hobbits are the best hobbits.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
We're supposed to get an inch of snow tonight, so I'm looking forward to driving to work tomorrow. Yay.
God, I wish we would get some snow here. We just have cold. I want some
I got
snow.
both.
Yeah, we've got a bit of snow. Anyway, I'm going to head off. Good night, all. Thank you, chaps. Thank you, chat.
Bye.
Have a good week, everybody.
Cheers,
Okay.
all.
I'm storming the castle.